Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Excited about our non-conference opponent schedule. It never is easy. I don't think you could have an easy schedule in the SEC. I just don't think it would happen. You could have easier, but the word easy and nothing left on the back end of it never happens in the SEC.
Very excited about the opportunity to come to SEC Media Days, which marks the end of vacation season, which is one of the two main reasons that I coach college football, free gear and vacations. And now it's on to football season. And based on what I've heard from the rest of the SEC coaches, it looks to be a really, really exciting upcoming football season.
For us, we have to take the mindset into this year the same way we attack the off season. Football coaches, we use this term a lot, but for us, it was like a 4th and 1 mentality. That moment in a 4th and 1 situation demands urgency, unity, execution. And we obviously needed to have a strong off season, So every rep, every lift, every team meeting, no matter what we're doing, we have to embrace that challenge.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centrist Federal Credit Union. That's Austin Jacobsen. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat headquarters. What's up, Austin?
Oh, just kind of surviving today, it feels like. I feel like I'm like behind the 8 ball for some reason.
That's not a good start.
No, it's not, especially for a Friday. You never want to be that way for a Friday.
I know.
You ever have like too many plans coming up on a weekend and you just, it's not like you're dreading the weekend, because usually weekend plans are rather fun.
They tend to be, yes.
But we have a wedding in Wood River we have to go to, which I don't want to get into, other things about Wood River.
I know nothing about Wood River whatsoever.
We should,
just
let
moving right along.
be. But, and then the Husker Road Race on Sunday. So
Sure.
I got a quick turnaround there, but just a lot of driving. I'd rather be sleeping in, but I don't know if I'll be able to both days. So we'll see.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's the hard knock life of Austin Jacobsen. I don't know if I get to sleep in both days.
I know.
So let me ask this, because
I'm not like a nap boy like you, apparently.
Listen,
you and Sasha were having a heyday talking about how many naps you guys can take over the next 3 days.
naps are nice, get a little rest in every once in a while. It's
get your 8 hours overnight instead of sending late night emails. Too.
No, that's probably not going to happen. Here's the problem too, is and this isn't as much of an issue during the summer, but a lot of times during the year when there's football, basketball, things like that going on, you kind of have to stay up.
Yeah.
And so then, I kind of have to end up with a split sleep schedule a little bit, because unlike DB, I do need to sleep at some point.
Right. I actually I'll do this every once in a while, that if there's, especially football season, Monday Night Football will be on, of course, Monday night. I'll watch the first half, go to bed at a decent time, and I'll record it. Then I can watch the second half before I see any of the hot takes or anything, or I, stumble online first thing in the morning when I wake up, because I try to get up pretty early so I can do a workout or whatever and kind of, have that time to myself. So I can catch up on my sports that way.
Yeah, no, it's I usually try and stay up, catch it live, and then, I'll catch up on my sleep kind of during the day a little bit. I do have a question though.
Yes.
So you have this wedding. There's a lot of variance, I feel like, in wedding experiences.
Mm-hmm.
They can either be a lot of fun or total crap.
Mm-hmm.
What are you expecting? Like, is this a family? Is this friend? Is this, hey, the reception's in the church basement with punch and cake, and then you go home and you're done by 3 p.m.? Is this, we're going to the VA and partying all night? I assume that's where you have, like a VFW. I assume that's where you have the receptions in Wood River. I don't know.
No, it's actually in a barn. You'd be shocked to find out.
That actually checks out. That makes sense. I should have known.
It's the one place you can have both the wedding and reception.
Well, sure. Yeah.
But no, you
could probably consummate there too.
It's a college friend. And it's actually, it's both parties, which isn't very often that it's the bride and groom are both friends of myself and my girlfriend. So I'm very excited about that. Yeah.
There you go.
So we're going to be able to just kind of do our own thing and hang out with like kind of our people rather than just have, because you've been to plenty of weddings where it's, your significant others, friends or family. And so then you're just kind of attached to their hip, and you just kind of follow them around like a lost puppy, just doing your thing. But this one will be fun. I'm looking forward to this one. And it's in a barn. How could that be bad?
I mean, what's better than having a wedding and a reception in a 90-degree barn in Nebraska in July. What could go wrong?
I will let you know how the humidity and heat will affect me that day.
Is it do you know if it's a climate controlled barn? Some of them have
I have
sort
it
of
pulled up here. I'm going to look up.
some of those barns turned venues have a little bit more of a heat mitigation system going on there.
The website for the barn is calling itself a hidden treasure, and it's an old Pennsylvanian barn of the 1800s combination. So does that mean it moved? They brought it?
Maybe it's
from
Pennsylvanian style. Maybe there's a style of barn.
I would think that too. Oh, it comes with 3 large video screens and lighting on the ceiling.
Oh,
who would have thought? I'm glad they put that in there.
I'm glad they have electricity at all.
Comparative to the natural lighting, that other barns only have.
Right. Well, I just mean not this one. That wasn't a shot at small town Nebraska. It's barns generally do not have wiring.
Indeed.
As far as I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time in barns. Thankfully.
I'm thinking this is like an actual wedding venue and it's just called a barn.
Or at one point it was a barn and it's been retrofit into a wedding venue. Because if it's an 1800s Pennsylvania barn, at some point it was probably barning.
Yes. It was full barn.
Yeah,
yes.
It was going full barn.
Yes, it was going full barn at some point.
Yeah. So you're not going to have to sit on hay bales like Dwight Schrute's wedding or anything like that.
Yes, I was kind of hoping that we would. And we'd be, drawn by horse cart carriage or something.
You got to get your hooks, be like, hey, those are your seats for the reception. So go ahead and bring your hay bale.
They double up. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's fair. Because, there is, I had a very different experience in college as I went to a very small private Christian school.
A lot of wine coolers.
Well, so there was, again, some people were very strict interpreters of the rules and others were explored the gray areas of life.
Yes.
We'll call it that way. And so when people got married, which they often did in college, because that's a thing at Christian schools, kids get married very young a lot of times, or directly after, it's very hit and miss whether you're even going to have alcohol at a wedding.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm not going to a dry wedding. It's just not happening.
Yeah. I do.
0%
I love many people in my life, but I don't love them enough to go to a dry wedding.
No, not even.
I'm there to celebrate. That's how I celebrate. It's my culture. That's what I want. I want to drink with you.
I believe that's called alcoholism.
No, wrong. I'm too young to have that problem.
That's actually not true. Can happen at any age. No, I do. I don't know that there's a single person in my life that I would joyfully go to a dry wedding.
Yeah, I would be forced to for siblings, but that would be that'd be pretty.
That's why I said joyfully, because I would like that. I might have to get dragged a couple of them.
Asian Wyatt, a great reception idea is to have a station where you can glaze your own donuts. That'd be great.
Glaze our own donut here or anything. Good work, Shane. Oh no, cornflicted. That's terrible.
I love that.
Not to nutter my own butter. My own toaster strudel here, but
I love that.
Incredible. I actually have seen a donut station at a bar.
Yeah,
at a reception.
Yeah,
or a candy bar on some of them.
I went to one where they had the donuts on the stick, it was like iCarly, and they were walking around the bride and groom were
Why would I know
people.
an iCarly reference?
I don't know, because you've seen one with the youths.
The U's? Is that what's cool with the U's?
Yes.
iCarly?
Sorry, I can never tell how old you are. Sometimes you act like you're 55 and sometimes you're 25, and I can't differentiate in between.
Honestly, if you split the difference, you basically got it.
Yeah. Where's the fun in that? It's better to guess, right? I'm never one to judge off someone's age. I'd rather just keep guessing and just be like, oh, maybe.
I'd rather judge them incorrectly on their age all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
TK says, don't have to worry about that at Catholic weddings.
That's true.
There is a super fundamental traditional version of Catholicism where people don't drink very much. It's kind of wild.
That is true.
Or I think it's something like the Orthodox ones that I'm not going to those weddings either.
Yeah.
100% pass.
One of my younger cousins just turned 21 and she invited my mom out to go with them to her 21st birthday celebration. My mom didn't understand why she was invited because I'm not going to go on a bar crawl. I'm almost 60. What is this about? And instead, my cousin was saying, and rightfully so, don't drink underage. That's illegal.
Yeah.
But she was like, oh, my first drinks. Oh, this is great. And she's like, okay, I'm good. I'm just going to go ride go-karts now. So, okay, sounds good. Go have fun. Everyone's 21st birthday can be different. I'm not judging.
Don't drink and go-kart. You know what I mean? Be careful there.
Make sure you have someone to go-kart with you.
Yeah, make sure you have a designated go-kart driver.
Go-karts are underrated, though. They are.
Go-karts are fun.
There is a part of your life when you get too old to admit that some things are still fun, but you've kind of surpassed the age in which you can still do them, right? Go-karts is one of them.
I think you can go-kart at any age, as long as you can get into the car. Like at a certain point, my joints probably won't be up for that.
Yeah,
but
good point.
For now,
yeah.
as long as I can get in the car, I'm in.
I've always wanted to jump into a ball pit. I love a ball pit. What?
That's so random.
What do you mean?
I mean, you can jump into a ball pit.
I know,
if you want to.
but okay. But if I jumped into a ball pit, everyone would be like, "Who's this weirdo hanging out with? Like, oh, what's he doing?"
I mean, I would for sure make sure there's no kids in there.
Well, yeah.
Like, I would do that.
But then why would I be alone by myself in a ball pit? That's also weird. So there's no scenario there's like, unless it's me and my bachelor party of friends that we rented out a ball pit.
Have you ever stopped to think about how disgusting ball pits are?
No.
And all the germs and pee.
The world is full of germs, Sasha.
Yeah, I know, but you're willingly going to jump into a pit of balls where... No. I'm done. All right.
That was beautiful.
Happy Friday.
Listen,
that'd be beautiful. That was beautiful. We didn't even set anything up. You said it yourself.
I'm just saying, I held it together through you guys saying balls so many times.
How many times have you jumped into a pit of balls? Go ahead first. Sorry.
Move on.
It wasn't me today. It wasn't me. I'm just.
How proud of you are you? Just because you were the adult in the room today?
I was. I held it together through so many ball mentions. And I held a straight face. You said a couple that I was like, nope, he's telling a story. It's fine.
What was wrong with ball pits?
It's nothing. And then Sasha chimes in, and it's just
Sasha knew she was in trouble right from the beginning.
Oh yeah, you could tell. You could tell she was like, I'm not gonna make it through this.
Also, to go back on your point, Sasha, you were talking about how gross it is and how people pee and stuff.
Yeah.
Weren't you just at a lake?
Yeah, I mean,
people do worse things inside of the lake.
True, and it's brown.
Yeah,
like,
it's not clear water.
I will say lakes in general, pretty gross in terms of swimming in them.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not a lake swimmer by any. It never happened. Never will be.
Yeah.
They're
the amount of people
disgusting.
that do like the river floats and all that stuff too. It's all the same. You just you ignore that fact. Right?
Yeah. If I'm gonna be on a lake, it needs to be on a boat. I'm not doing a tube. I'm not swimming.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not. Absolutely not.
Big tan guy.
No, I mean.
Okay, what do you mean by that? I'm trying to get to. You don't like this vanilla cream? Don't answer that.
Not to whip my own cream here, but not to sprinkle my own sundae.
Did you cut all of these out?
I hope so.
That's beautiful.
I hope so.
Oh man, that's great.
No, so I don't even remember what we were talking about.
Headley, wow, I traveled to the beach for a week, come back. Damon looks very different. I appear to have stolen his tan.
Because I've been chastised for not saying this before or not saying it frequently enough. Dan will be back on Monday.
Yes.
And then I think he'll be gone on Tuesday at Big Ten Media Days, and then he'll be back again after that.
It'll be great to have him back.
Yeah, so he'll be back next week for most of the week. I just don't know what days specifically yet. I'm going to let Sasha figure that out.
Yep.
But he will be back. He's at team camp this week for Westside.
Did they get the day off? Did we find out?
He did not.
Oh, no.
I texted him yesterday because if he got the day off, he was going to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And I text him, I go, so you end up getting tomorrow morning off? He goes, I wish.
Poor guy. He looked, DB never has like this real like emotional like differences and stuff, but he looked like beaten. He was, I'm ready. I'm ready.
He looked like he wanted a day.
Yeah.
He looked like he wanted a day off. Well, I think he was just kind of looking at what his schedule looks like. Cause even after this weekend, then he goes to Vegas for a day. Basically,
and he said they were like volunteering and stuff on Sunday too for the triathlon.
Well, they've got the camp tonight, then they're volunteering Sunday, and then I think there's something tomorrow, and then he gets a day off, and then he's a day off where he has to go back to work,
right?
And then he has to go to Vegas. So like it's a lot. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, he's got enough going on. Enough to do.
A lot going on. We've got a lot going on the show today. Coming up at 8:00, we've got our Friday friend Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska. At 9:00, we've got Mike Sautter from Hurrdat Sports NEBPreps. He's been up in Fargo all week. Is he still up in Fargo, Sasha?
He came back at like 3:45 on yesterday morning.
That makes sense. That's the most Mike Sautter thing possible, is to drive through the night in the most dangerous way and not.
That way he could mow in the morning when he got back.
It's probably true. I mowed yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah,
Look at you go.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Matt Vrzal joins us at 9:45 to wrap up the show like he always does. And then we might play a couple games today.
Oh,
We might play. I've got a couple things in here. We'll see what we get to. Number one, I do have a Nebraska football edition of True or Delulu.
I'm so excited for this.
Everybody's favorite game. And then I kind of came up with my own. I don't know if you're familiar with some of those podcasts or Reddit threads. The like, am I the a-hole? And they give you a scenario, and then they kind of let the internet decide whether or not that person is in fact in the wrong. I've got a sports edition.
Okay.
Of Am I the a-hole?
Personal experience or what?
We're gonna say they're hypotheticals.
Okay.
A Richard Hole. Yeah, we're gonna
like that.
We're gonna say they're hypotheticals, and some of them may just be stories. I did look some up to see, if there were any better ones out there. Some of them may be personal experiences. Some of them are, as we discussed with SVU and Criminal Minds, ripped from the headlines.
Yes, indeed.
And then some of them may be a little combination of both, where I'm like, hey, I've seen this happen at a game before, or I've read a story about it, and then we put it in there. So we're going to try and get to that today as well. I think it might be fun. It could be terrible. Who knows?
Who knows? Anything can happen. And as we've learned from the show,
literally anything can happen.
I do have a question for you.
Okay.
How online were you yesterday, or really the 36 hours leading into the show?
I think my normal amount of online.
Okay. So did you check the athletics top 50 quarterbacks?
Oh,
college football?
I did not. I missed this.
Okay. So spoiler alert.
Okay.
Number 40 was young Dylan Raiola.
Okay.
Number 39 was Mark Gronowski of Iowa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they had
that's stupid.
There we go. So now we got it. But they had Dylan and Mark, I believe, in the tier of either young quarterbacks that still have something to prove, or experienced quarterbacks that have either like faltered in big game situations, or like have played enough that you kind of know what their game is. And I thought that was an interesting distinction to put the two of them basically side by side.
Those are very different things.
Because you could argue that it's actually, we don't know as much as Gronowski as we actually do about Dylan. That's what I thought was the most interesting part about that.
Yeah, no, this is already pissing me off.
Did you find it?
Yeah,
you got it. Yeah.
Such a good Google on my part, by the way.
Hey, listen,
nailed it.
You've gotten good.
I'm killing it here. So, by the way, DJ Lagway still has something to prove. We're just putting him in the top category of the most talented quarterbacks in the country, and this is what tier 1 is. It is the most talented QBs in the country with the highest ceilings. They can carry their team and are often biggest keys to victory. Many in this tier find themselves in the Heisman Trophy conversation. Here's the list. Some of it makes sense. Kate Klubnik, Garrett Nussmile, Lenore Sellers. I started having problems with John Mateer at 4.
That's insane. That's crazy.
Wild.
That should be Aller at 4, probably.
Yeah, Aller's at 6. DJ Lagway is between them at 5.
That's crazy.
John Mateer played like a West Coast Conference schedule last year.
Yes.
At Washington State. He played 2 Power 5 teams, and he wet the bed against Texas Tech. He was bad. He ran the ball well, but he did not throw the ball well. John Mateer has a lot to prove going from, listen, I keep saying this. SEC honks and losers. You cannot have it both ways. Either this is the toughest damn conference in the country, and it's really hard, and your 8 games are harder than our 9 games and everything else, and that can either be true, or John Mateer can easily transfer in and dominate, because that's what we're talking about here. Heisman Trophy contention, dominating. And he could come in and
again,
dominate.
A proven commodity, a guy that's done it, and you've seen enough, and you're like, yep, we plug and play. That guy is going to have success.
So he can either go from Washington State's West Coast Conference schedule to the SEC and not miss a beat, or you can have the hardest conference in the country. Both of those things can't be true.
Yep. I'd rather have Mendoza. I'd rather have Mendoza than Mateer in that situation.
Both of those things cannot be true. That's a fact. So, like, I am so freaking sick of the SEC talking out of both sides of their mouth. And we heard it in the clips that Shane opened with today, where he goes, oh, well, I mean, I think we got the toughest. There's no easy schedules in the SEC. There might be easier. Hey, dummy. Yeah, there is. You play bad teams. There's bad teams in your conference. There just is.
Yep.
Every year there are bad teams in your conference, and there's mediocre teams in your conference. There's a hierarchy like there is in every other conference. You have 3 or 4 great teams, and then it's mush. It's just a mess. Some might emerge as being better than others some years, but you can't sit here and tell me that John Mateer can go in and be expected to dominate after Washington State nonsense, and you have the toughest conference in the country. You can't tell me both those things. They cannot be true at the same time. They can't.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, that's my John Mateer.
No, I'm glad. We got that. Glad we got that out of your system.
And then DJ Lagway. Okay, DJ Lagway and Dylan Raiola were literally ranked at the exact same level coming out of high school.
Okay, so
he was one in some, Dylan was one in some. They were neck and neck. So like talent-wise, they're the same person. It's a different type of talent. DJ Lagway is a better runner, those types of things. But talent-wise, they were viewed as equals coming out of high school last year. Dylan played more. They won the exact same amount of games. What is happening here? How is DJ Lagway at 5 and Dylan's at 40? Especially, I mean, if Florida's got, again, if Florida and the SEC have the toughest schedule in the country, is a Heisman Trophy winner going to win 7 games next year? Is that what they're telling me?
Is it potentially nationally, right? Is it the excitement and lack of what we have seen on the bad side of Lagway comparative to what an entire season worth of Dylan Raiola looked like in total? And again, from a national perspective, right? That there's something about like the tease. You don't know how bad nor how good or great Lagway could be because he was in a smaller sample size. That what you saw, you liked so much in that time frame for Florida, that he could be so much better, and that's what everyone is banking on and relying on. Whereas instead of looking at an entire season sample size of Dylan Raiola as a true freshman, where they say, oh, well, he gained all this experience, he got better under Dana Holgorsen in the last 3 games of the year in which he had that offensive coordinator and that system and scheme with him, that they saw the full season and said, this looks more like the finished product. We know what we have in Dylan Raiola. That's my best guess. That it's almost the tease, right? It's like seeing the Instagram story, but you don't get the full picture.
That's a fine guess. It's also a very stupid way to look at this. I'm not saying that's how you're looking at it.
That's the best way that I can see it because of the smaller sample size.
I understand that, but smaller sample size actually means you know less about a person.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And let me tell you what we do know about the person, because I think the bad is just as bad with Lagway, and we have less of an example of him getting through it, right? Last year with Dylan, we saw start hot, struggle in the middle, end well, right? That's what happened.
Yes.
Like that is a fact. I'm not even taking debate on that. Here's what we know about DJ Lagway. He's still in the start hot part of his career.
It's true. We're in the honeymoon phase of DJ Lagway.
Exactly.
Yeah, we are very much in the honeymoon phase.
Just on numbers that aren't cumulative totals here, because I know that Dylan played more, had more reps, which by the way is a positive, but whatever. Had more reps than DJ Lagway last year.
It's a positive for Dylan, but it's not a positive for, again, the people that watched and said, well, this must be what he is.
Let me get to that though, because we're still, let me not use totals here because I don't want it to skew because of the snaps. All right. Completion percentage. 59.9 for DJ Lagway, 67 for Dylan Raiola. Interception percentage. The number of his passes that were intercepted. That's the number we all point to. Like, Dylan had 11 interceptions last year. 2.7%. That's actually pretty low.
Yeah. Well, and it should be lower because 2 of them were tie balls.
Yes,
essentially.
right.
I mean, which is absurd in its own right. That your first 2 interceptions you throw as a college football player are essentially
we're both ruled
calls.
Catches on the field.
Yes.
And then Anyway, DJ Lagway almost twice that. 4.7%.
Wow.
Interception percentage. That dude, like, there are real issues here. This isn't just me being a dick because I like Dylan. Like this, there are real issues here that people aren't paying attention to because like he runs, we think he runs a lot more. Guess what? You know how many rushing yards he had last year? Do you know how many rushing yards DJ Lagway had last year?
I don't know, but I was just looking it up. What did he got?
100.
Wow.
That's it.
Well, in an under 60% completion percentage too in the amount of games that he played.
2 yards per carry. 2 yards per carry. 0 touchdowns. This is what we're talking about. Like, this is that big dynamic thing that DJ Lagway has over Dylan. That's the thing, is 100 yards rushing on 51 attempts, 2 yards per carry, 0 touchdowns. That's what we're talking about here.
So game by game, and maybe you want to pull up Dylan's. I've got Lagway's here.
Okay. I'll pull up his game log.
The best games that we have from Lagway statistically, and again, this is in, kind of a vacuum, right? It's not watching the game film, seeing how the game actually parlayed and all that other stuff. His best game was a 45-7 win against Samford at home.
Samford, good.
18 of 25, notable SEC power Samford. 18 of 25.
They do seem to be on everybody's schedule every year, so maybe.
456 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and that included an 85-yard pass as well. He also had 5 carries for 16 yards. The next best game that you can go for, that would be yardage-wise, he was 7 of 14 against Kentucky in a 48-20 win for 259 yards, and he didn't throw a touchdown, only an interception, and was sacked twice.
How good was Kentucky last year?
Kentucky was
4-8.
Yeah,
is that right?
4-8, 5-7. I don't think they had a bowl game.
They were very bad.
The most attempts he threw in a game was a win against LSU, 27-16. He went 13 of 26 for 226 yards. He didn't take any sacks in that game and threw 1 touchdown with no interceptions. But his last 2 games, he finished 10 of 17 in a win against Ole Miss and 14 of 22 on the road at Florida State, 180 yards, 133 yards.
2-10 Florida State, by the way.
2-10.
Like,
and
people forget 2-10 Florida State.
Over those 2 games, he threw 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and was sacked 6 times.
Is that good? That doesn't seem that good.
No. I to be the number 6 quarterback coming into the 2025 season,
Number five,
correct. Number 5. I don't know if that's
for comparison here. Dylan's best game of the year was probably against Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
He was 24 for 35. That's 69% completion, 297 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick.
And again, the interception was basically overturned.
Yeah, it was a touchdown overturned. It was very easily that. If that goes the other way, it's like 330, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Is that good?
That's very good.
And not against Samford, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's against a Big Ten, a team that finished the season 9-3.
9-3,
would have been 8-4, yes.
In a 16-team playoff, would have made the playoff last year.
Yes.
Okay, so that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
His next best game was probably Wisconsin, 28 for 38, 293, 1 touchdown, no picks. Had a very good game in the bowl game, 22 for 30, 224, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Like, Dylan's best games came against real opponents.
But that being said as well, for the Lagway argument too, he's got the more marquee victories, right? He's got 2 wins against top 25 opponents against Ole Miss and LSU. Both were at home, which, again, you can credit however you credit, but they are wins. But then his best statistical game and his best performance throwing the ball, a 72% completion percentage, came against Samford in week 2.
Yeah. Like, I mean, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand, like, okay, you'll take but again, Illinois and Ole Miss / LSU were basically the same teams last year in terms of quality.
And no one's discrediting that Florida was talented last year, right? Like, they have a very talented roster.
They had a tough schedule, and things started really poorly for them. They were playing well at the end of the year. Nobody's taking any of that away. My point is, there's literally almost nothing you can look at that makes any sense to me to have a 35 spot gap between DJ Lagway and Dylan. And I'm not even saying Dylan should be like in the top 10, but DJ Lagway being 5 is absolutely bonkers.
The gap between Lagway and Dylan is not 35 quarterbacks.
No.
It's much closer.
It should be maybe a few. Maybe you like DJ's upside better. That's fine. But
because again, the last game of the season for Lagway too, 33-8 bowl game win over Tulane, 22 of 35, 305 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks. So, I mean, you still throw the 2 interceptions, but it's
touchdown, 2 picks is bad.
Right, but then over 300 yards, and then he had a 63% completion rate. So, I mean...
Which is 63% completion is lower than Dylan's for the season.
And again, box score watching, you look at everything that Lagway has, box score watching, and you keep saying to yourself, well, these things are good, but then, man, he's got this really bad interception rate, or he takes 6 sacks over 2 weeks, and you can't balance them out. Except the Samford game, he doesn't have a full weak byline that is, wow, what an immaculate quarterback.
Which is exactly my point, right? He is in the, like what you just described with DJ is the exact same issues people describe with Dylan.
Right.
It's like, oh man, he had these great moments, then he had some freshman things, then he went through the drought in the middle, and then Dana Holgorsen took over and he looked a lot better. Like, we're talking about all the exact same things with both of these guys, and there's a 35-person gap. So like between Mateer and Lagway at 4 and 5, this list is bonkers.
And again, we did our quarterback draft, and granted, that's based off of points and whatever, all that other stuff. I don't think I could get to 35 quarterbacks between Lagway and Raiola.
Absolutely not.
It's much closer than
bonkers.
that. Yeah.
And then honestly, having Arch Manning at 10, also stupid. Also very dumb.
Yep.
Like, I get he's got, out of the 3 of those, I actually think he should be the highest if you're going.
Arch?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because of the situation around him. Right? Sarkisian over Napier, Texas talent over Florida. Like, I will take my chances with Arch over either of those 2 guys. 100%. He has the least amount of sample size of anyone we've talked about. I believe it's 90 career passing attempts. So him being in the top 10 is wild to me also, but out of any of the 3, he's the one that makes the most sense to me.
And again, in the tier system that the Athletic used in this reference, and I love the Athletic. I do too. I think that they do a lot of great stuff, but the tier system comparative to where they are placing the quarterbacks don't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
Like you said, 90 attempts, like 6-7 game appearances for Arch, and they're putting him in the same tier as quarterbacks that were well established, Heisman contenders. These guys can go down and win you a game. We don't know that about Arch. We're assuming it's true, and we haven't seen it in real time. It's the same thing with DJ Lagway. He's more whatever the categories are for tier 2, 3, and 4 actually fit more with the other quarterbacks that they have inside of the top 10 rather than what they have actually outside of it.
Yeah, we know essentially nothing about Arch Manning.
Yes.
That we aren't just assuming because of his profile and his last name.
You could argue that Jennings from SMU is actually probably closer to tier 1 than wherever he's put anywhere else on this list because his team made a college football playoff appearance. His team won 10 games. They had double-digit wins going into this season. He's more established and more accomplished, and he led his team to victories. No, he was not maybe going to be a Heisman Trophy candidate by any means.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge Kevin Jennings fan. I'm really not. But I understand he's got much more of a track record.
Yes.
We're just assuming so much with these guys. And I mean, having Dante Moore at 24 and Dylan at 40.
I agree with you there. And you know how big I am on Dante Moore.
Yeah, he was one of your top picks, right? That is absolutely bonkers.
So he's at 24. So 16 quarterbacks difference.
Absolutely nuts. Also, there's been this infatuation, and I drafted him, but there's been this infatuation with Devin Dampier in the last few weeks from Utah. He's the New Mexico transfer from Utah. He ran for over 1,000 yards last year, but his passing numbers are not good. Genuinely bad. I'm going to bring him up here in a second, but he's at 25. And
I don't know if I would.
That's what I mean.
See, this is where, man.
He played at New Mexico last year.
I'm really trying not to think about this in such a Homerish version, but how many national people could genuinely look at this list, and when you put it in terms of, would you take this many quarterbacks ahead of Dylan Raiola comparative to this quarterback? I just don't see it. So I don't understand that logic.
Devin Dampier at New Mexico, by the way. Here's his passing numbers last year. 58% completion, 2,700 yards, 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Now, is his life going to be easier or harder in the Big 12?
Probably a little more difficult.
I would imagine.
My best guess.
A little bit more challenging
notably, New Mexico did lose to Big 12 team Arizona 61-39.
Okay.
Good. Now, he doesn't play defense, so you can't stop that. They did lose to Auburn 45-19. They then went on 0-3 start, losing to Fresno State 38-21. So the number 25 quarterback that we're talking about, that is now into a power conference, did not score more than, he had 39 points leading his offense in week 1. Week 2 led his offense to 19 points, 21 points, and then the following week. And then you started to see a little bit more of the rhythm. But he also had games against Colorado State where the Lobos could only score 6 points. And this is the number 25 quarterback.
Colorado State. That's Devin Dampier. And listen, he ran like crazy. All right. 1,100 yards, 19 touchdowns, really high yards per attempt. I think it's over 7. He really good runner. But you're telling me that he's going to go to a better conference and be better than he was at New Mexico, I don't like, especially with those passing numbers.
Yeah.
Where they'll be like, okay, yeah, so beat us with your arm. Go for it.
But then, so is
We
this,
dare you.
it's almost, you need another tier of quarterbacks that are elevating the roster around them, because then that would be Arch. That would be Dampier,
which is fine.
right?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what Dampier. That's my point. Like, I have no idea what Dampier. I don't think anybody does. Like, he was so, I'll call it mediocre passing the ball last year at New Mexico in the Mountain West, and so good running the ball. I have no idea what you're getting. I have no idea what you're getting from Devin Dampier this year.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh, God, really? Bo Prabilla? Really? Bo Prabilla is above Dylan?
Where's Luke Altmaier on that list?
He was like in the top.
Because I would take
10,
Altmaier.
I think.
Altmaier, as to what we've seen over the past 2 years, and again, his improvement from.
He's 13. That makes.
I think that's fair.
I think that's fair. That's about right for Luke Altmaier. And so,
again, what would that be? A 27 quarterback gap between him and Dylan?
Which I don't think is the case.
But if you put it in even Big Ten terms, how many Big Ten quarterbacks are better between Altmaier and Dylan?
How many are there between them?
Yes. So you'd probably put Aller 1.
Yeah.
I've always put Altmaier 2.
I think I did when DB and I went through this. I believe I put Altmaier 2.
I don't think Dylan's that far away. 1 or 2 at most.
I think 3 or 4. I think he's at 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So 1 or 2 spots difference. So real quick, before we take a break here, I'm just going to run through some of these guys. You tell me when you would take Dylan ahead of a guy.
Okay.
I'm going to assume Klubnik, Nussmeier, Sellers. No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mateer.
I mean, yes, I would take Dylan over Mateer because of longevity and everything else. Yes, yeah.
I would too. Lagway.
I mean,
I'm taking Dylan over.
Yeah,
Lagway.
I would take Dylan, but for fairness, I guess I'd call it even.
Call it a wash. Yeah. Aller. Probably
take
not.
Aller. Yeah.
Levitt.
Take Levitt.
Jennings.
I would take Jennings at this point. Yes.
With their offense, I would take Jennings.
Mm-hmm.
What they ask him to do. Josh Hoover. You're probably taking Josh Hoover. Arch is really interesting.
But again, if Arch is at Nebraska.
Yeah, so switch places.
Switch places. So, you would take Dylan. I would take Dylan 100% of the time.
I would take Dylan in Texas over Arch, I think.
Yes.
Like with that system, with the team, I think I would take Sawyer Robertson was super productive last year. I'll let that one go. Carson Beck's interesting.
I take Dylan. You get longevity, and you get, again, it's almost the Lagway comparison from Raiola to Beck,
so
where you think longevity, I know what Beck is.
Let's take longevity out of it. So let's just say just for this year.
Just for this upcoming single season sample. Okay. I know what Beck is. I'd rather take Dylan.
You take your chances with Dylan. I'd probably take Altmaier.
I would take Altmaier.
I think Altmaier is really good. Rocco Becht. I like Becht a lot.
I do like Rocco Becht.
I'll probably call it a wash.
Actually, I still think I think Dylan's upside is better.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I think so.
I would take Dylan.
Pavia.
Single season sample. I just need him for 1 year. And I'm getting Pavia as he is. I might take Pavia.
Okay. Haynes King.
I take Dylan.
Fernando Mendoza.
Oh, see, now we're getting, full upside, I would take Dylan. Yes.
Darian Mensah.
Dylan. Yeah.
Nico.
Dylan, yeah, I've been on that train, yeah.
Brendan Sorsby at 20.
Yeah. See, this is where we're getting ridiculous. Dylan, yes.
Talon Green. Now, for their offense, Talon makes more sense. I think Dylan's a better quarterback.
Yep.
Avery Johnson.
I would take Avery Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maddox Madsen from Boise.
I don't.
I'll be honest.
I don't know enough about it.
I don't have an opinion on Maddox Madsen.
I guess a wash technically, but I would probably take Dylan.
I'll take Dylan.
Yeah.
Dante Moore, Oregon.
I'm big on Dante Moore, though. That's a problem. I might take Dante Moore. I know you're going to hate that. I know you're going to hate that. That's fine. I know you're going to hate that. That's fine.
All right. Devin Dampier, who we just talked about.
Dylan.
Marcel Reed at Texas A&M.
I've never understood Marcel Reed. I've never understood A&M quarterbacks since Tannehill. So
I don't understand the love for Marcel Reed.
Yeah. So Dylan.
Baron Morton. He was very good last year.
Yeah.
I'll take Baron Morton. That's fine. Gio Lopez at North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
We know.
We're just Jordan Hudsoning this.
Apparently.
Yeah. She's a great offensive mind, Dylan.
Eli Holstein from Pitt.
All right, now we're getting ridiculous. Again, Dylan.
Malik Murphy, Oregon State.
Yeah, again, what are we even talking about here? Dylan, yes.
CJ Bailey, North Carolina State. Now I know I know Tim Verghese loves CJ Bailey.
Yeah. I'd have to go Dylan. I mean, there's not that big of a gap. It's insane that we are talking about this big.
Julian Sayin, who has not been named the starter and has played 0 college football.
Notably on Team Roston for the quarterback draft. But again, if you're talking about what we have seen, what we absolutely know.
Also, like, okay,
again, it's another talent around you guy,
yes.
right? Because if you switch spots, you're going to take Dylan at Ohio State.
Dylan would be your starter tomorrow at Ohio State.
Yes.
I feel confident saying that.
I'd agree. Yeah, I've never thought about that, but yes.
Like, Dylan would be your starter at Ohio State tomorrow.
Yes, 100% agree.
Damon Williams, Washington. I know DB loves him.
Ooh, I do like Damon Williams. But again, it's not that sample size. I'd go Dylan again.
Jalen Daniels, Kansas.
Dylan. Yeah, we know what we're going to get from Jalen Daniels. I know you're super excited about him.
About 6 games. You're going to get 6 games out of it. Jackson Arnold, who got run out of Oklahoma.
Yeah, no, Dylan.
Noah Fifita, Arizona.
And you want to talk about who was one of the marquee names? No, that's again Dylan's spot.
Hard pass. Austin Simmons, never played football.
8-man? Dylan.
Bo Prabilla, Missouri.
I feel like you've already said this name.
I have.
No. Yeah, Dylan again.
Mark Gronowski.
See, now that's the whole crux of this that got us going on this tangent. And yes, Dylan over Gronowski. Yes.
So probably, what would you say, about half of the names, maybe 2/3 of the names between Dylan and the top of the list, you take Dylan over?
Yes. And even in the last example between Gronowski and Dylan, we do the same Ohio State or Texas flip, and you put Dylan at Iowa. Does Dylan Raiola at Iowa actually not elevate their offense more than what Gronowski can do?
If Dylan was on the open market and Gronowski was on the open market,
you're going to take Dylan.
Who would Iowa have taken?
Dylan.
Thank you.
100% of the time.
That's my point.
Yeah.
40 is absolutely wild, and the people they put ahead of him, my God.
Right.
Like, just abject disaster.
Only room to climb.
I hope he sees this. I really do.
Not only do I hope he sees it, I hope somebody asks him about it next week. I really want I almost want someone to come out and just ask, do you think there are 39 college football quarterbacks that are better than you? Because not only I don't know what his answer exactly would be, but I would be very interested to see how he handles that.
Sasha, can you write that down since you're going to be there? See what we can do. This is put together by Sam Kahn Jr. and Antonio Morales. So we don't know either of them. So I feel fine shredding this list. Terrible. Let's take a quick break here. Coming up at 8 o'clock, we will have Tim Verghese, but let's take a quick break. That's Austin. I'm Ravi. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Howard here with Harrison Phillips. Harrison, this is your 7th Playmakers Camp here in Omaha. As you grow in your NFL career, why has this always remained a priority for you?
You know, it's really special. I don't know what jersey I'm going to wear each season. It's not really up to me. I'm very happy that I've been a part of 2 great organizations. But something that's forever true is this is my high school, and this is where I'm starting a family. I'm building a home here with my wife, who's a Millard West grad. We just had a child who's going to grow up a Nebraskan, and you know, this one means the most.
Standing here in the Millard West gym, what do you think the high school version of you would think, knowing you'll be doing these camps in the future and where you went to high school?
Man, the high school me was pretty cocky. I would say he'd be very proud of himself. I always spoke really big goals and set them really far off. I was kind of laughed at a little bit, being a little freshman saying I'm going to play in the NFL and get full ride scholarships and stuff. But I worked my ass off to make that happen. So I'd be really proud, and I think the most important thing is bringing others along the way. So being able to be out here to these high school students, a thing that I wish I had. I wish I had someone that I could have asked about what it's like going to college, what's it like to get to the next level. And so when we bring these Nebraska football players out and these high school kids, I want to be a resource to them as well as use my platform for these pups.
At Centrist Federal Credit Union, we have the tools and resources to help our members fulfill their financial goals, with a focus on building a stronger community for the next generation of leaders. Centrist Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
What makes Banana Ball work so well in terms of the fans, the support, and everything that's gone with it?
I think it's just the breaking down the barrier between fan and player. When you go to a Major League Baseball game, even though there might not be a barrier, it might just be a net, there's a distinct barrier where like players and fans don't really interact during the game. And we're bringing fans onto the field, into our game. Like every fan that comes to our game is going to be involved somehow. Every single one of them. They're all going to be involved if they want to be. So I guess that's my advice too. When you come to a Bananas game, be open to doing anything. Don't say no to an opportunity. My niece actually, we do a fan warm up before every game. We have a little girl come on the field and dance, and the whole stadium follows the dance moves. My niece said no because she was nervous. And to this day, every single day I see her, she's like, I want to do the fan warm up. I want to do the fan warm up. So like when you come to a game, just be open to doing whatever.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's Austin. I'm Ravi.
Oh.
I was so close.
You almost made it through.
No, so you know what? I almost went AJ, and I was like, no, we're going to call him Austin. We're going to call him Austin.
I respect that. Thank you very much.
You know, I was trying to help you out there.
Thank you.
So I wasn't actually about to call you DB. I was about to call you AJ, which is different people, obviously.
Indeed.
Again, it's called Off-White with Hurrdat Sports Live. Don't forget, if you're out on the road this morning, make sure you got that seat belt fastened and make it click. It prevents injuries and saves lives, but only if worn properly. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Catch up on the chat a little bit here. A couple interesting comments. Chad chimes in. He goes, let's see here. Let's see if I can bring it up. Chad says, first time joining the chat after listening yesterday. I dropped a not to whip my own cream on my wife last night, and she didn't blink an eye. Good.
Own cream.
Yeah, that's appreciate you joining us here, Chad.
Had all the good stuff in that yesterday.
And then Ken brought this up. I don't remember what I don't know what he was talking about specifically here, but it was an interesting comment. He goes, Rhule's been channeling little doses of Bo Pelini lately between the lines. And I'm not sure what specifically he's referencing, but I do think there's a little more Bo to Matt Rhule than people realize. Like there's now I think Bo's was kind of unrestrained and he couldn't really get his arms around it sometimes.
Yeah.
But I do think there's a lot of the same kind of like chip on our shoulder, kind of nobody really believes in us. Like, hey, it's the guys in this room that matter. But he also understands the rest of it. Like, it's like if Bo understood what the rest of the job was. Like, there's a little bit of that in Matt Rhule.
Well, and we heard of that from Kenny, though, right? We've heard it from Kenny.
Yeah.
And I know nationally, I listen to a lot of what Will Compton puts out, too. And his old interviews with Bo, he had said that multiple times. And Bo's even admitted that he's just like, I'm just not about doing the athletic administration. I'm not about doing some of the other stuff. That is almost required at Nebraska. And I thought Kenny had a great perspective about it, too, because he said, and I thought it was a great quote when he said, you aren't necessarily like the governor because you're elected by the people, but you do go through somewhat of an election process when you become the Nebraska football head coach, because much like what Kyle Crooks went through to become the next voice of Husker football, there's a lot more tiers to becoming the Nebraska football head coach than there are across a lot of other college football jobs. Because at USC, you're not expected to go out to Northern California and just go out to the farms and shake hands at different times.
Yeah, you don't have to go out to the vineyards.
Yeah, but Rhule has made himself accessible and open to the rest of the state. And I don't know how often he ventures outside of the Lincoln, Omaha area, but it's not. It's more often than not that almost every weekend that it's either in season or during stretches of the off season when he's not vacationing or traveling or doing other recruitment and stuff, you hear or see tweets of Matt Rhule was here in Omaha, or he was visiting this place, or he golfed at this location in the state. he knows what it means to be out and about in the towns and in the communities and just kind of being a part of the Nebraska fabric.
He's very visible, which is not something that Bo had. It's also, I mean, it's, it's a different time, but I think they're very different personalities that way. But I do think Ken's right. I do think there's a little bit more Bo Pelini to his personality than we give it credit for.
Just in the intensity?
Yeah, I think in the intensity and also kind of I do think there's sort of like this chip on his shoulder type thing that Bo really, I think it was way more of Bo's personality than was healthy. Like I think sometimes it dominated and overran some of his better angels in terms of like the angels and devils on his shoulder. I think sometimes the pettiness and chip on his shoulder won out over better reasons sometimes, but I do think there is some of that in Rhule's personality.
I think we give a lot of credit, and Rhule has spoken about it, about how much he learned from the Carolina Panther experience, which uniquely enough, of course, this is what I'm wearing today. But do we not give enough credit to how motivated he is for success after that?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think that's something that we just don't talk about very often. That because he's credited, even when he came back to Nebraska right away, he was credited as the college football rebuilder. That was his brand.
Yeah.
But he failed in the NFL.
Yeah.
And he had said that was something he wanted to. When the NFL calls, you listen and you answer when they do. And so he took that call. And I know he has said, and I think it was last summer with Klatt when he did that sit down, that he had said he was embarrassed having to come back to football after failing with the National Football League. So this Nebraska job means more even to him just personally, because it's not just about bringing Nebraska back. It's not about doing right by college football. It's not about doing all these X, Y, and Z things that come with just being a head coach at whatever university. It's self-motivating for him too.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think there's definitely part of that where it's, proving that he can do it in a different landscape of college football. Obviously, Baylor was a very different time in the sport and a very different landscape and a very different job than Nebraska is. So I do think there's a lot of that there with his motivation to come and prove that he can still do it and prove that, Temple and Baylor wasn't a fluke. And I do think there's a part of him, this is a longer term thing. I do think there's a part of him that wants to show he can sustain success, not just build it.
Yeah.
Because that's not really something he's shown, right? He did 4 years at Temple, did really well, 3 years at Baylor, did really well, and then moved on to the NFL. I do think there's a part of him that wants to show, like, not only can I build it up to a certain point, but then I can turn it into a monster and get rolling for a long period of time. But I do think his motivation in terms of, hey, I'm coming off of a unsuccessful stop in the NFL, I do think that matters to him. I don't know how you can be competitive and have it not matter to you.
Right. Yeah.
Like if one of us was coming off of a show that failed or got canceled or whatever, we'd probably be motivated a little bit extra to prove people that we were deserving of whatever opportunities that we got.
And you could say, and this is not getting into a Scott Frost topic, I do not want to get back into that by any means. I know listen, we can always get into it if we need to, but of the past head coaches, even going back to Solich, were any of them motivated the same way that Rhule is uniquely for this job? Because his is almost a personal goal to bring back Nebraska, because it would achieve his own success, get him back out of the bunker, but it also brings Nebraska back too.
So I think the only one that's close, the closest one would be Bill Callahan.
You think?
Bill Callahan was coming off of being fired from the Raiders.
Okay. Good point.
And
fair. Yeah.
And Nebraska had taken a step back nationally in the last couple years of Frank Solich. They'd gone 7-7 and then 9-3. So what is that? 16-10, which at this point would be like, oh, thank the heavens. But at that time, going 7-7 was an abject disaster. And then going 9-3 the following year wasn't enough improvement, obviously, for Steve Peterson to keep him around. But I do think you're looking at very similar situations. In Nebraska was at a point where they felt they needed to be brought back to where they felt they belonged. And Bill Callahan, I think, did have something to prove after getting fired from the Raiders. And what we saw, and I don't know if Bill Callahan's wired that way, so that's my hesitation there.
Fair.
I don't really know. I feel like he has to be competitive, otherwise he wouldn't have been coaching professional football
but some people would argue, even in his professional career, that he was somewhat born on third base, given the Raiders job.
He did take over an advantageous situation with the Raiders job when Gruden left, but still did get them to a Super Bowl, which is, not something a lot of head coaches can say. But I will say the other big difference is Callahan never had a head coaching job after that again.
That is true.
He never was a head coach. When I think
he's only been a position coach. I don't think he's been a coordinator.
I think he's had some OC jobs. Okay. He was an interim head coach for Washington, I think, for a couple of games when they fired maybe Ron Rivera. But he's never been a full-time head coach again. So there's that. I think that's an interesting kind of tidbit in his story where he realized, hey, this isn't for me. Or maybe, he's been one of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL for decades at this point.
Yeah, assistant and offensive line coach is all I can see so far, but assistant head coach nonetheless. So basically the next step.
I thought he at some point, maybe it was an interim thing, was calling plays, but he's basically been just the best offensive line coach or one of the best offensive line coaches in football for the last 20 years since he left Nebraska. So I do think Callahan's the closest one, though, that would have had a chip on his shoulder to prove something.
And that is unique.
It's weird.
Not very often that we can compare Rhule to Callahan.
Yeah, although, I mean, their paths, at least how they got here from the NFL, getting fired and then taking this job, they do have the most overlap of anyone. I mean, you don't have, if you look at it, only Riley had head coaching experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, Bo didn't. Frost, I guess, Scott Frost had 2 years at UCF. But only Mike Riley had power conference coaching experience before coming to Nebraska out of the last 5 hires.
Yep.
And then you've got Matt Rhule as well. So it is a unique situation for Rhule and where he comes in here, not just in his motivation and perhaps being a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, but also his ability or also his path to get to Nebraska as well.
It's also interesting, too, because the more that comes to light from comments from the last head coach, too, Riley, Frost to Rhule, you couldn't have even a more stark difference in the level of motivation and just the internal want to get it done.
Yeah. I honestly think Riley took it like this is a retirement job. Like, hey,
100%.
That's a fat check.
It's a great check and it'd be a great buyout.
Yeah, honestly. So it's a super, I don't know how, nothing against Mike Riley. He seemed like the lovely man. Don't know how motivated he was by anything at that point.
Well, he never had post-game speeches. He was just a hip, hip, hooray guy. So take that for what you want.
Big hip, hip, hooray guy. Coming up next, we're going to talk to our guy, Tim Verghese. Tons of stuff coming out for the 2027 class. They just dropped their top 300. And there's some Nebraska notables in there as well. That's awesome. I'm Ravi. More Hurrdat Sports Live coming up next.
At Centris Federal Credit Union, we understand that the journey of building your own business typically starts with modest beginnings. With a little help from our team of experts and small business loan offerings, you can take your vision and transform it into a more concrete reality. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Went back, comes in, she makes the catch, and it's a chance for a game-winning double play. That's how it ends. The Arkansas Razorbacks are headed back to Super Regionals.
What kind of goes through your mind as you're preparing to give that final speech?
It's the worst speech of all time because you don't want to rehearse it because then it sounds like you knew it was coming.
It was 12-0. Like we were kind of anticipating, okay, like this is gonna end tonight. Like nobody wants it to. but it's going to.
10, 20 years down the road, the wins and losses, you don't remember them.
All the success is great and it is very memorable, and those are part of the good memories, but I think the time we have together on the bus, in the locker room, at practice, on the field are what lasts a lifetime.
You just go out there and you look those kids in their eyes and try to articulate to them how much they mean to you and this program. And then when you finish and you stand there and watch everybody, and it's hard. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's Austin. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat headquarters. We are joined now by Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska. Tim, what's going on, bud?
Hey, not too much. How you guys doing?
Doing good, Tim. So we started off our morning on quite the tangent because did you happen to see the athletic quarterback tier ranking that came out just a couple of days ago?
I did. I did not go through it, but I saw obviously some of the notable rankings.
So essentially, Dylan Raiola, number 40. Do you think that there are 39 quarterbacks that are better in college football than Dylan Raiola coming into this season?
I don't think so. I do. I think when you go back and look like over the tiers we did a couple weeks ago at this point, those tiers we did, I do think like that second and third tier specifically gets a little deeper than you think, where it's like, okay, I mean, you could, if you are an outsider with a whole lot, like the only reference you have to Dylan Raiola is his freshman year, and you're not at all exposed to the high school tape, you're not at all exposed to, okay, here's the player profile and what the upside is. I could, again, on paper see it. I think it's a little, I think it's one of those things where it's a little bearish considering where we might be talking about Dylan even at midseason this fall.
So, Tim, kind of in that sense, right? So I appreciate you trying to give people benefit of the doubt here. I do. But we made a lot of assumptions with other people that we know even less about on that list than Dylan Raiola, right? We're making assumptions, like we're going off of 90 passes from Arch Manning and saying that's a big enough sample size to put him at 10. Now, I get the circumstances around him are ideal, so maybe I give that one a little bit of a pass. But then we go to like an Austin Simmons, who like haven't really seen play football yet, and we go down to like Mark Gronowski.
The one that's egregious. The one that's egregious for me is Jackson Arnold.
Yes. Egregious. I think you're fairly high on Dante Moore, but I look at a Dante Moore and I go, okay, we don't know any more about Dante Moore than we do about Dylan. They both had 1 year of mostly starting experience. Dante took a year off basically. So I don't know if the gap year helped him, but people were not in love with Dante Moore last year. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, he sat for a year, so he's great. There's a bunch of guys like that.
Yeah. And you could also make the argument going into, again, if you're evaluating the whole picture with Evan Stewart out, you could make the argument Dylan has more experienced weapons than Dante Moore, because Dante Moore is going to have to rely on DeCorian Moore, who I do really like a lot and was an electric player out of Duncanville, but that's a true freshman who, again, we've seen true freshmen have instant impacts, but you're asking that guy to be wide receiver one, and that doesn't compute for me, especially when it's like, oh yeah, I mean, Dylan has Dane Key as wide receiver one, Isaiah Hunter and Ja'Cory Barney in the room. And then, you've got Cortez Mills and Isaiah Mosey and all these different guys coming off the bench. I think when you evaluate the whole picture, I think Dylan being where he's at is hard for me to understand. And again, it's one of those things that's really silly considering where we may be talking about him 4 or 5 weeks into the season.
And I mean, I really don't understand, like, and we don't have to stay on this anymore very much longer, but like, I'm sitting here, I'm going like Eli Holstein, Gio Lopez. Like, we're talking this. Gio Lopez played at South Alabama last year, and his numbers were decent. Like, they were okay. It wasn't like Cam Ward numbers or anything at Incarnate Word. Like, I don't know what we're talking about.
But I still think my biggest argument is when you compare Dylan to other quarterbacks and you are taking those quarterbacks, potentially like Arch, that have the better everything around them, the roster, the defense, the coaching, everything. And I'm not saying obviously comparative to what I think Nebraska has in the positive sense, but if you put Dylan at Ohio State, Julian Sayan's not going to be rated number 40 with Nebraska. He's going to be far lower on that list, but Dylan would be much higher than 40 at Ohio State. That's kind of where the crux of, I think, most of this argument comes from.
Right. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just feel in general at a national level, Nebraska's offseason and Nebraska in general has kind of slipped under the national radar. And I don't really know why, because there was a lot of hype going into last year. But you understanding the situation, the hype should be for a year 3 Rhule. The hype should be for a Dylan Raiola and Dana Holgorsen offense. Like, the hype should be around, okay, here's who they got this offseason. Like, I mean, there should be a little more there. I don't really know exactly why. I think part of it is how competitive the Big Ten is expected to be this year, where it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, Nebraska may be better this year, but just how much better is it going to be? Like, you know, I mean, there's a world. I think I saw a mock like standings for the Big Ten, and it's like, yeah, Nebraska goes 8-4 or even 9-4, but finishes like 7th or 8th or 6th or 7th, somewhere in the 6 to 8 tier in the Big Ten, which like is possible, and I think it would be a successful year, but like, I don't think that's something where, considering Nebraska's schedule, like, I don't think Nebraska gets to that point where they are like 8-9 wins. And you're also looking at, oh yeah, Dylan Raiola was also just the 40th best quarterback in the country.
Tim, is that almost strategic on Nebraska's side? It feels like they themselves have had a quieter offseason. We don't see the documentaries that are coming out from the program. Matt Rhule has still done some of the national conversation, and of course we'll hear Big Ten Media Days next week, but it doesn't feel like Nebraska themselves have been puffing out their chests as much as we saw last year. So is it almost maybe beneficiary that they can sneak up on some people from the national conversation this year?
Yeah, I think it is intentional a little bit, but also, like, I'm curious to see how they approach Big Ten Media Days. I think this is kind of like when things start rolling. And, you know, we all know, being around here and listening to the way, you know, Coach Rhule and some of the guys on the team talk, and again, just the way, like, through all of us, just like, you know, what where the confidence is at behind the scenes. I mean, this is a confident team, and this is a team that knows that, you know, they're better than they are last year. But I do think the decision, and part of it, I think, in my opinion, comes from some of the new staff additions, kind of this new vision for what this program wants to be. Like, I don't think, you know, I think part of it is like, hey, Dana Holgorsen maybe doesn't want like a whole lot of eyeballs on this offense and a whole lot of hype around this offense, but they're going to be good, you know, or should be good on paper, you know. And it's like, John Butler's pretty unproven. Like, you know, it's been a decade since he's coached or led a defense. Like, yeah, those things go into it, and I think part of it is calculated. But again, I just think, yeah, at a national level, I think Nebraska probably deserves to be talked about a little more. I mean, we're starting to see it a little bit. People are like, wait a minute, like, we're talking about DJ Lagway this much. Why aren't we talking about Dylan Raiola this much? You know, like, and it's like, listen, I love DJ. I'm a big DJ guy. Like, but I get it. I mean, there's part of it's the SEC stuff because, and again, sorry for the tangent, but Lagway is kind of in Florida is in the same boat kind of as Nebraska, in the sense that, yeah, they could be better than last year and still finish like middle of the pack, if not lower, in the SEC. Like, they could still go like 8-4, 9-3. You know, like, that's still very much on the table. But yeah, he gets the hype that, like, I don't think that Dylan necessarily gets, and I'm not really sure for the reason why.
And I think what a lot of people point to, Tim, because this has been a big pet peeve of mine, as you know, especially between DJ and Dylan, I think what a lot of people point to is the talent and the upside, right? But you can tell me this better than anybody. Like, DJ and Dylan were essentially viewed as the same level of recruit. I mean, they were literally 1-2 in whatever order, right, of quarterbacks coming out of high school in that class, and their numbers are very similar from last year, even though DJ didn't play the whole season. Like, I don't understand. That's where I don't get it, right? It's not like Dylan was the 150th recruit in the country or some 3-star that just popped off and you're like, oh, that's interesting. Like, he's not Keaton Slovis a few years back at USC where you're like, oh, that came out of nowhere. That's wild. As a true freshman, this guy was viewed every bit as the prospect as DJ Lagway, but now it seems like people are like, oh, Lagway is the hyper talented one, and we'll just see what happens with Dylan. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, you would think over the years people would learn, like just at the general, like the college football and drafts type, like, the general audience. I know there's obviously very good people in all of those audiences, very smart people, but you would think the general audience at this point would be a little past the like, oh, we're solely just consumed by the physical tools and not the quarterbackiness of it all. Like, DJ's a really good quarterback. Like, don't get me wrong. There's a lot in his arsenal. I think he's a really physically gifted athlete on top of that. And like, he can make all the throws in the same way that Dylan can. Where I think people underestimate Dylan and are kind of like banking on it coming together for DJ is the processing. That's something that Dylan was really good at as a freshman and came into college really good at. That's something that DJ himself admitted this last week. He's still figuring out. Like, he's still figuring out like how to see the field at the SEC level. I thought Dylan did a really good job of processing, especially early on in the year. And yeah, you saw some bumps and bruises across the year, and some setbacks there to that area of his game. But that's something that at the bare minimum, you're getting. And so I think that's something that long term we're gonna have recruiting blitz on Monday out with Cody Belair, a national scout here at Rivals. And we have a long discussion about processing for quarterbacks and what that means and why it's such an important skill. And in my opinion, it's been a discussion online too. It's an underrated skill when we're talking about projecting to the league. The best quarterbacks in the league process at a high level. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, even, and Lamar doesn't get the credit for it. Lamar processes at a really high level, does a really good job of setting his feet and balancing his feet and going through his reads. That's something that DJ's still figuring out, but Dylan already has. And on top of that, Dylan has, the arm talent to kind of get balls to all 3 levels of the field. Yeah, the physical upside maybe isn't there like DJ. He's never going to be the runner that DJ is. But we've seen in the NFL and in college football, you don't need that necessarily to be successful. You just need to be able to move around a little bit. And I think Dylan's going to be able to do enough where, yeah, down the line, if both of these guys hit at the way we think they can over these next 2 to 3 years, yeah, I mean, like, we're still talking about them as 1 and 2 type guys in a draft ranking like we did coming out of high school.
Yeah, Tim, it's funny because as you're talking through that, and then you mentioned the processing, right? Like, so if you want to know the difference, if people like don't really understand like how big of an impact that makes, take a guy who's very physically mediocre in Brock Purdy and a guy who's very physically talented in Anthony Richardson, and that's the value of processing, right? It's $53 million a year. That's the value of processing, and Anthony Richardson is going to get beat out for a job by Daniel Jones. So like I think that's the thing that I have a hard time with is like, okay, listen, the physical tools are great. And I think DJ's better than Anthony Richardson as a quarterback already. But if he admittedly is having a hard time processing, and that's a thing we know Dylan does well, like, I don't even know why this is a discussion. Like that there are 35 spots in between. Sorry, just a little tangent there for me. But the other thing that I wanted to ask you about is, okay, so Brendan Sorsby is 20 on this list. Dylan Raiola is 40. If this is a thing that existed and Nebraska called Cincinnati and said, hey, we'll trade you Dylan for Brendan straight up, how fast does Cincinnati say yes?
It's so fast. Yeah,
Luka trade quick. Yeah, like Luka to the Lakers quick. Like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Just whatever you want.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Nebraska would hypothetically, if that was a trade, I mean, Nebraska would like hypothetically get a couple very good players back in return as well. Like, yeah, it wouldn't just be a straight up 1-for-1.
You need like 4 future firsts in that situation, right? Like, and how fast, if Cincinnati makes that phone call, does Nebraska hang up?
Yeah, pretty much immediate. Like that's the thing. Like I think again, this is the list, but like you ask anybody, and yeah, like people can like maybe dismiss it as like, oh, it's just internal hype, or it's like, maybe a little, it's just, yeah, of course they're going to be hiring their guy. Man, if you ask anybody around Nebraska right now on the offensive side of the ball, there's not a lot of people in college football right now they would trade Dylan Raiola for. Like, there's not a whole lot of quarterbacks out there. I don't think there's any. Like, I think they're pretty set with their guy. I think they're pretty confident because, yeah, I mean, on top of the physical tools for Nebraska specifically, you need a quarterback that's all in. You need a quarterback that's all in, that's the vocal leader, that's doing all these things, that's off the field. Like, I've heard behind the scenes, and I'm not going to name names, but I've heard behind the scenes there are a couple quarterbacks out there that aren't necessarily the guy right now. Like the hope was after, a strong last year or like flashes last year, they were going to take a step forward this year and be the guy. And that just hasn't really happened. And what it's led to is a internal conversation at some of these programs where they're like, "Oh man, by midseason, are we going to be starting a different guy? Like, is this just not going to be our QB1 by the time we get to like the tough midseason slate?" And again, to iterate that, to just be clarified, that's not Lagway at all. Like Lagway is the guy, like in the same way that Dylan is the guy at Nebraska, Lagway is the guy at Florida. They all fall in line behind Lagway, just like they all fall in line behind Raiola here at Nebraska. But there are a few other quarterbacks out there that I've heard that aren't necessarily performing up to the level that people thought they'd be performing to. And it is caused a conversation.
Tim said all that just to get under my skin for the quarterback draft. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to do a Cincinnati type trade, but I'm standing firm. Tim, on the recruitment side, I'm curious about people's perspective. I think this is completely overblown, but we talked about earlier this week about some of the in-state Nebraska conversation and the especially Omaha area athletes that some of, I guess, the national landscape would say Nebraska missed on. And we know the kind of conversations that had been going on, what kind of the real look of that quarterback conversation, especially in the recruiting conversation with some of the 26 class looked like. But when you have such a standout athlete like Torrey Pittman in the 27 class, does how Nebraska recruited the Omaha Metro in this year's upcoming cycle in 26 affect what could happen in 27?
I don't think so, just because like the way they've recruited Central has almost been different than the way they've recruited other schools, and that's not because of any specific reason. I think it is literally just a year ago Nebraska staff recognizing the type of talent that Torrey Pittman is and Kylan Haney is as well, and wanting to make sure they're in on those guys. And so I think they're kind of protected from like some of that outside noise because they haven't really dealt with it. Like at Central, it's not like there's been a guy that's been kind of overlooked by Nebraska. And these guys play 7-on-7 too, but it's not like there's anyone really on their 7-on-7 teams either that like is a blatant, oh, this guy was overlooked. Like you could maybe say like Caprice Keith. But even that one, I think Caprice is pretty happy at Iowa State. And even if he did hypothetically have a Nebraska offer, I still think he maybe ends up at Iowa State. Like I just think that was kind of where his heart was at. And no, I mean, I think Pittman's a little protected from that. I do think, and what also is different there is Pittman and Haney, like none of ours 24/7, the old rival, now rivals /on3, like the databases don't accurately reflect how often both of those guys have been at Nebraska. Like we've been like during these last two springs, practically every week, one of the two were there, whether it was Haney, whether it was Pittman, whether it was both of them. Like they've been around this program constantly. Like, and as long as the campus is open to recruits, those guys are up there at least once every 2 weeks or so when the campus is open. So they're really familiar with the coaching staff. They're really familiar with the staff and the program. Like, I mean, yeah, and I think that Nebraska has the inside track at Pittman. I mean, we talked earlier this summer. He kind of told me straight up, it's LSU and A&M, number 1 and number 2. And then he went to LSU, and he didn't really love that visit as much as he thought he would. So it's really just Nebraska. And like Oregon's going to get in the mix this fall. Notre Dame's going to get him on campus, few others. But yeah, I mean, Nebraska's got a pretty sizable lead at this point. To keep Pittman home. But yeah, this is a recruitment that's going to continue to grow and develop over the next year, especially now that after the most recent Rivals ranking update, he's a number 16 player and number 2 safety in the country. That's going to, for a couple of programs that haven't really paid a whole lot of attention to that recruitment, that's going to catch their attention for sure.
Tough look for Brian Kelly.
Oh, someone met Brian Kelly and didn't like him. Color me shocked.
I'm stunned. Tim, so there's been a couple people in our chat this week as we've talked about this process between the 26 and the 27 class with in-state recruits specifically that sort of intimated that they had heard that the staff doesn't necessarily have the best relationships with some of the high school coaches in the metro. Is that something you've picked up on at all? Or like, because I haven't personally, but I'm curious what your thoughts are there.
Not really. I mean, as far as I can tell, not really. I'm sure there are at some schools there are some ruffled feathers. Like I'm sure it's not super smooth at Bellevue West right now, considering how things have gone with Nebraska and some Bellevue West prospects over the years. But at the same time, I don't think that's necessarily Nebraska's fault on how some of that has gone. That is kind of just roster attrition to a certain extent. And then you have some of the like the Xavier Betts situation didn't go, super well. Like the Davon Hall situation, and obviously again the way there's some ruffled feathers over the way, kind of the Kalen thing was handled too. I mean, for so long it was Kalen is the guy in 24, and then Raiola pops up on the radar, and I think for the most part everyone kind of understands the football element of how all of this works, but I mean. I'm not gonna lie and say there's not some ruffled feathers or some hurt feelings, just across the board about the lack of maybe some of the previous staff or even earlier years past with the staff where they were almost excited to kind of offer guys in state and be early on guys in state, and they're kind of being a little more hesitant now and a little more laid back and I mean obviously there's a couple guys at Millard South, not even a couple. I mean, it's pretty unique how many guys at Millard South are set off to go play D1 football after this year. And Nebraska doesn't really have an offer out to any of them. That's wild. That's pretty absurd. And I can understand and recognize that there's some feelings there. I would hope that on Nebraska's end, they are doing the best job to communicate exactly why it's going down the way it's going down and why this 26 class has developed the way it is and why, in years future, if there is a prospect Nebraska sees as a Big Ten SEC type prospect, they're going to go after him. But right now, there just isn't. So they've handled it about as well as they can. But there are, of course, going to be some ruffled feathers over how all of this works. And I don't know. I mean, I don't really know. Again, in Texas, it's the same thing with Texas and Texas A&M when a prospect gets dropped or a prospect, from a school that doesn't really produce all that much talent gets dropped from Texas. But at the same time, both of those schools, Texas and Texas A&M, try to do a good job of maintaining good relationships with the talent hotbeds in the area. That's if you're a little concerned at all, that's what we're. But if you have any type of concern, that's where my concern would be. It's okay, well. There is a lot of talent that comes out of Millard South. There is a lot of talent that comes out of Bellevue West relative to other programs in state. Is it an issue that Nebraska's ruffled some feathers there? Yeah, probably. But is that something that if those programs have a prospect that Nebraska really wants, would those ruffled feathers immediately get fixed or figured out? Probably. That's the thing. Down the line, 28, 29, because as of right now, I don't think there's a 27 at Millard South or Bellevue West that's going to end up getting a Nebraska offer. But in 28, 29, it's very much in the cards. And so if that happens, I think I trust the staff, and especially, getting Mike Eckler back and being able to get a different guy and kind of shift the energy around with in-state recruiting. I think there's a world where Nebraska gets back to having a guy or gets back to, kind of having smooth relations with in-state programs.
Tim, I hope this question makes sense. I'm trying to see how I can formulate it. The new hire for recruiting with Anthony Johnson earlier this week, too, for Nebraska. Maybe don't know specifically what his role could be just yet, but is it a bigger deal for what his role could be or is with Nebraska, or that Rhule and the Nebraska football staff figured that he was a bigger priority to take away from Michigan? Which do you think is more important for Nebraska moving forward?
I think they just needed another staffer. That was a position that had been open quietly behind the scenes, and they were looking to fill. The Johnson pickup is interesting considering his background. He's not super experienced. He's got 6 months at Pitt and then 2-3 months at Michigan. But I think the work at Michigan kind of speaks for itself. He was assisting the defensive line coach there over the 2 months he was there. Michigan went on the defensive line coaching run. He's a former player who just pretty much stepped away from the game last year, so he's young enough to relate to some of these guys. I mean, there's maybe a couple guys on the roster that may be even older than him, or around the same age as him. So he's able to relate. I think he does a good job with relationship building, at least as far as I've heard to this point. But no, I think this was just mainly just a staff opening that needed filled, and they found a guy that they think can assist in some key areas of need.
Tim, as we're kind of looking at I know that Rivals dropped their top 300 this week. You mentioned Pittman being 16, obviously super highly regarded guy in the state of Nebraska. As far as guys Nebraska is in on, not necessarily Nebraska high school players, but guys Nebraska's had on campus, it seems like there is an inordinate amount of super high 4 stars, 5 stars, especially on the offensive line that Nebraska is interested in, that has some reciprocal interest from those prospects as well. As we sit here still, almost 15 months away from when any of those guys will sign a letter of intent, how durable do you think those relationships Nebraska has with some of the higher end prospects on their board right now?
I think it really depends on how the fall goes, because they have some very strong relationships, and I do think the staff has done a good job of making these guys feel at home, and surprising them. I think the consensus across a lot of those guys when they talk about Nebraska, or they talk about what the most surprising visit of their summer has been, it's been Nebraska. Kennedy Brown said it. Mark Matthews said it. Some of these guys nationally on the defensive side of the ball said it as well. So that's the position I think. Offensive line is the position I'm really looking at, where I think Nebraska can really potentially break through in 27. But it really depends on how many games they win this fall. If they win 8, 9 plus games, if they win even more, if they push for like 9, 10 potentially, which I think there's going to be closer to 8, 9. But if they do push for like 9 or 10, I do think they find themselves in some conversations. Even they may be surprised to be in. But sky's the limit for 27 at this point, just because they have set them up in a good spot, and these recruits are going to be watching what Nebraska does closely, potentially from the sidelines, because they're going to get a couple of these guys in town for visits this fall.
Tim, one last thing for me, and then we'll let you go here. Valdenson, the 26 defensive line recruit. So I was reading your Timbits, and you talk about how you're not sure if this initial commitment's going to go Nebraska's way, but you think Nebraska's still going to be in it. Can you explain to me, like I'm a child, like why do these guys, like what's the point of the committing if we kind of all know that the recruitment's still ongoing? Like I get very confused about this.
It depends on the type of player, and I don't think Sone's necessarily that type of player, but part of it is wanting to lock in a spot. Like, for a guy like Sone, I mean, Georgia now has 5. They just lost 1, but 5 defensive line commits. And yeah, he's a top of board guy. But if this is a recruitment that does, carry out into the fall, and another, highly touted defensive lineman wanted to commit to Georgia, Georgia would have to essentially be like, okay, well, it's you or Sone, and if Sone's going to take his time, we're going to do it. Like, part of it is that guys want to lock in spots and make sure, okay, like I need to make sure I have my spot there, but keep it moving. Another thing is, a lot of these guys, at least in their heart, do mean well and want to be done with the process before their senior year starts. But the process never done. I mean, so many of these guys, like I can't tell you the amount of times I've talked to a recruit. I mean, I just talked to Jackson Campbell a little bit about it, about like, you assume and hope that announcing a top 5, announcing a commitment slows things down and maybe puts a pause on the recruitment and allows you to focus on things. And to Campbell's credit, I talked to him a little bit, and he said, yeah, like after committing, it's been pretty quiet. He's been relieved to have the majority of the process done. But there's other guys that are like, like I remember DJ Hicks back in the day. He was a 5-star defensive lineman 2 cycles ago that went to A&M. He was one that he announced his top 5, and his dad straight up called me the next day. And he's like, "Man, I thought the phone calls would stop. Like, I thought we were done, but like, it's just like," he's like, "Why is Oklahoma State calling me? Like, we're not going to Oklahoma State. Like, they're out of like." But it's
Mike, leave me alone.
Right. But like that's like kind of some of the sentiment that's been out there is like the hope is like I want to make a summer commitment so I can focus on my senior year, but the phone calls don't stop. And it's like the portal. Like how many times have we heard with the portal? Guys didn't necessarily want to leave, but they talked to their families afterwards, and the families like, yeah, we've got all these like the kid may be done with the process, but mom and dad maybe aren't, agent maybe isn't. Like, they're always going to be negotiating and working behind the scenes or always going to be looking for something better out there. So a lot of these guys do want to be done with the process, but yeah, the part of it is trying to lock in a spot. Part of it's trying to be done with the process. But yeah, there's a few guys that are out there that are kind of delusional and kind of like, I'll commit now and then I'll make my real commitment in like November. And it's like, that's not how the process works. And schools are able now at this point to like kind of sniff through some of that. But they, at the same time, they also do kind of put themselves in position like specifically this cycle where they are overspending a little bit, where there are, I noted it in the show in Recruiting Blitz last week, and I do apologize for this tangent, but
Tim, you never have to apologize for a Tim tangent. What are you talking about?
But I did note it in Recruiting Blitz on Monday. A lot of these guys, right, or some of these schools right now in 26, the way they're approaching this is like the cap isn't there and rev share isn't hit, and they are essentially spending like they were pre-July 1st and hoping that, okay, it won't really count because we're not going to mark all this down as rev share stuff until next year or the year out. Like they're pushing this down the line. That's going to change after this year because once we get into 27, it's going to be a full year of these guys being recruited on rev share type deals, and some of these guys having already signed rev share type deals. And so that's it's going to look different moving forward. But in 26, because of some of this front loading, because come November, come December, it's time to actually put pen to paper. It's time to actually talk numbers, and it's time for the money to actually come. The money isn't really adding up the way it was in, June, July. And so you're going to see a good amount of flips. Like I think the statistic out there is that 94 or 96% of the Rivals 300 guys are committed already. It's going to flip. It's like a lot of those guys are like a lot of those guys are going to flip.
Mm-hmm. That's our guy, Tim Verghese, Inside Nebraska. Tim, great stuff as always. We appreciate it and always love a Tim tangent. We don't have to worry about that.
There's no problem with Tim tangents. If you ever want to come on, just rant or anything, you're more than welcome to.
I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good weekend.
Thanks,
you
Tim.
too. That's Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska. Great stuff there from Tim, as always. I do just want to say one thing about the in-state recruiting.
Yeah, some interesting stuff about Omaha relationships.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting. I also think there's, I don't know how to say this without making people mad, so whatever.
You're right. This show's never made anyone upset.
I think there's certain programs that don't produce the type of mentality in a kid that Nebraska's interested in. I don't think it's physical. I think if you look at the places that are producing a lot of D1 talent and Nebraska's not even offering, they're not losing these recruitments. They are not offering these kids.
Okay.
And that's we've seen in previous classes, they had no problem offering guys. They have no problem even reaching on some guys that people are like, oh, I wasn't sure he was going to get an offer. I don't think it's a matter
previous
of
classes or previous coaches.
Classes.
Okay.
Like, so last couple classes under Rhule, they got a ton of Nebraska kids. I counted up on the roster. There's a ton of Nebraska kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are very specific things they're looking for from a temperament and a mindset and a mentality from a kid. And I think if you see them pass on somebody that has other power conference offers, that's what you need to think about when they're having this situation. And that's not to say none of these kids aren't mentally tough or anything like that. I think Nebraska's looking for something very specific. And if you don't meet that, especially if you're going with a smaller class like they are in 2026, they're going to be pretty choosy about not only the physical gifts, but also where you're at mentally. I mean, Coach Rhule talks about this all the time about guys' temperament and how they process things through summer and everything like that. I think that's what you should point to and look at if you're talking about guys that aren't getting offers from Nebraska.
Well, I think Tim has said this before too. I think some of our Husker 24/7 guys, maybe Schaefer or Bruns, has said this as well. But when it comes down to a recruit that's similar, whether it's in-state, out-of-state, wherever, and there's similar traits, similar abilities comparative to another recruit,
All things being equal.
Nebraska will always choose the one with, as DB would say, competitive stamina. And they'll always go with mental fortitude over another one.
Absolutely.
And that's nothing to say against, like you said, some of the athletes that are in the state, that are in the area that they didn't offer. Sometimes it's fit. Sometimes it's they choose to go after a different recruit from a different area, whatever the case is. Recruitment is fickle sometimes. It's very interesting how it all boils down to. But when it does come down to, if we're going to pick X player over Y player, what are the differences? And sometimes it's intangibles, and usually, actually, I would argue, usually it is.
The only one that I look at that I don't think falls into that category for sure, and I don't know about all of them, the one I think is that doesn't fall in that category absolutely is Jet Tamala.
I'd agree.
Because I love his mentality. I love his mindset.
You don't go from getting Big 12 commitment to an Alabama offer from a quarterback guru coach without showcasing something.
I also think that was more of the circumstances of where Nebraska's quarterback board was, right?
Yes.
Obviously, you've got Dylan for at least this upcoming year and the next year, hopefully. I mean, if he goes pro after 3 years, that's a great thing for Nebraska.
Yes.
So I'm not going to say hopefully 2 more years, but whatever it looks like. Okay. And then you've got TJ Lateef right behind him. You've got Marco Davila, who was also a 4-star. Both those guys are 4-stars. And then you've got Dayton, who they genuinely like. But let's say Dayton was purely a nepotism play. Let's keep Dylan and Donnie happy, right? They have their marquee guy in 27. So like Jet kind of fell in class-wise. And by the time Jet popped off in terms of his recruitment, where Jet fell in class-wise didn't really make sense for Nebraska. They felt really good about Trey Taylor for a while. They really like TJ Lateef. They really like Marco Davila. They genuinely like Dayton. They do. Like, I promise you that. Like, they genuinely like Dayton. But even if they didn't, the way the recruiting board worked out over the last few years, a 2026 quarterback that's going to have an Alabama offer probably wasn't going to be a high priority for them in terms of what they wanted. 27 was the one they really wanted, and they wanted one last year with 25. I think they really are trying to stagger this so they don't have to start true freshmen anymore. And so you can start like a redshirt sophomore at quarterback, have him play for a couple years, and then be like, oh man, this kid's really good. Let's send him to the NFL now. Like, that's, I think, the plan, not having to be like, oh gosh, we got to start another true freshman. Oh, we got to start another true freshman. I think they're trying to stagger this in a way where they can get some more experience in the system before they have to play. And Jet was kind of just in an awkward spot. That's the only one that I think for sure, mentality wise, is like, we like that kid, probably could play here, probably has the competitive stamina and the mentality to play here. Just kind of wasn't in the right spot at the right time for their board.
Well, and I think also there's something to say too, and maybe this is fool's gold. Maybe this is me projecting my thoughts and feelings about the Rhule staff and how they interact and their relationships that they've built with some of these in-state recruits and the coaches and such. But sometimes it's doing right by the kid, right? That not getting this into a competitive battle where it's Jet having to pick between Nebraska and Alabama.
Well, and I think
what good does that do for Tamala if Nebraska's like, hey, we're kind of set, but you are the top quarterback in the state.
Yes.
We feel obligated to be able to offer you this. And then you put a kid in a bad spot where we feel really good about our quarterbacks right now. You are the top in-state quarterback. Your in-state team, your neighbors, your friends, your peers in your hallways are walking down asking if you're going to commit to the team down the road or in the South. I mean, it's being fair to the recruiter and to the kid that you're recruiting.
We saw this with Danny Kaelin, right? We saw this exact situation with Danny Kaelin where he had SEC offers, he had big-time offers, and not quite to the same degree as Alabama and Jet, but he had big-time SEC offers. He was a kid that obviously from Nebraska, has Nebraska roots, and then there was kind of this back and forth. He was committed to Missouri, and then Nebraska came back into the situation, and then Dylan came back into the situation, and then he was going to go take a visit to Michigan State, and they ended up staying at Nebraska, and then he transfers to Virginia. Like, that's a tough spot for a kid from Nebraska. Like, Danny Kaelin probably dreamed his whole life of playing for Nebraska. Would it have been better off if you're in Nebraska if you just said, like, hey, Danny, I'm sorry, like, you should probably, like, this probably isn't the best fit for you now that we have this other quarterback in this class. And like, so that's really, really hard. That's really challenging. And the lateness of when Dylan came into the picture really played a part in that. I don't think Nebraska meant to do any harm to Danny, but also you have this coach in Matt Rhule who is very adamant about trying to do the right thing by the kids, whether they're on his team, whether his recruits, whatever they are. Like over and over and over again, he's telling these guys like you should probably go to the NFL. Like this is probably your time, or man, I think you need another year, or hey, if you don't feel like this is the best place for you as a recruit, like please go somewhere else. Like I don't want you to feel pressured to go here if you don't think this is going to be a family for you. Like that's kind of who he is. And I think he probably learned from the awkwardness of the Daniel Kaelin situation that, man, I really don't want to put especially an in-state kid through that again.
Yep.
You know, because that was really tough, even if they didn't mean any harm, and I'm sure they didn't. That ended up being a really difficult situation for Danny.
And that's a great example of Rhule being completely for Nebraska, building himself into the fabric of it, but also being not from here to understand and to learn that, that it hurts more when Nebraska doesn't pick you comparative to where else you could go, or they pick someone over you. But it hurts even worse when they say, hey, you know what? Thanks for your time. We're actually like
that's
X,
tough.
Y, or Z better.
It's tough. You know, it's a really tough situation. I think they'd prefer not to put another Nebraska kid through that. And maybe we're totally off and that's not the reason at all. But I do think that's probably a factor in the Jet Tamal situation. And I'm almost positive timing was a factor in the Jet Tamal decision in just terms of where the rest of the quarterback classes were lining up for Nebraska at that same time. Let's take a quick break here. Coming up at 9 o'clock, we're going to talk to Mike Sautter. He's been up in Fargo at Junior Nationals for the last week. Just got back bright and early in the morning yesterday. Nobody likes driving through the night like our guy Mike Sautter. So we'll talk to him in just a little bit. But we'll take a quick break first here on Hurrdat Sports Live.
At Centris Federal Credit Union, we understand that the journey of building your own business typically starts with modest beginnings. With a little help from our team of experts and small business loan offerings, you can take your vision and transform it into a more concrete reality. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Went back, comes in, she makes the catch, and it's a chance for a game-winning double play. That's how it ends. The Arkansas Razorbacks are headed back to Super Regionals.
What kind of goes through your mind as you're preparing to give that final speech?
It's the worst speech of all time because you don't want to rehearse it because then it sounds like you knew it was coming.
It was 12-0. Like we were kind of anticipating, okay, like this is gonna end tonight. Like nobody wants it to, but it's going to.
10, 20 years down the road, the wins and losses, you don't remember them.
All the success is great and it is very memorable, and those are part of the good memories. But I think the time we have together on the bus, in the locker room, at practice, on the field, are what lasts a lifetime.
Where you gonna go when the shit breaks?
You just go out there and you look those kids in their eyes and try to articulate to them how much they mean to you and this program. And then when you finish and you stand there and watch everybody, and it's hard. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Howard here with Nebraska Volleyball, Skylar Pierce. Skylar, you're just telling me this is your second year helping at Harrison's camps. You told me there's a lot of kids here that even recognize you. How special is that for you?
It's so special just because you never really understand the impact that you're making on people, but when you come to these events or like even other sporting events, you just can see their face light up, and it's just such a wholesome feeling.
Why is it so important for you and this Nebraska volleyball team to give back to the community?
Nebraska does so much for our team, the fan base, everything. Like, they love our team so much, so the fact that we get to come back and like hang out with these kids that just love the sport so much and love hanging out with us, it's a really cool experience.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Back here on Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centrus Federal Credit Union. That's Austin. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat headquarters, and reminding you that no matter what you're looking for, Centrus Federal Credit Union has you covered. Whether it's your mortgages, you need an auto loan, you need savings, whatever it is, they've got you covered. Go to centrusfcu.org, check out all their products and services, and more importantly, check out their expertise. You can chat with experts live right there and find the right solution for you at centrusfcu.org. All right, I wanted to do a little exercise here before we
overhead press.
I did like an overhead press, a nice shoulder press. I did typically do a little push press, a little knees into it.
Get a little hop to it.
Get a little hop to it, a little more explosiveness, through there.
I had some kettlebell swings today. I was not a fan of that.
Yeah, no, not a big kettlebell swing guy.
No,
not
too much movement, too much hinge. I don't need that in my life.
You actually do. Hinge movements are very important.
I know, but it makes me feel all rickety and old, and I don't like that. So because I feel things pop and such that I don't need to worry about in my day to day. But
the hinge exercises humble you. They really do.
Yes.
They're very.
You ever do just like a body weight exercise that's way too difficult, and that you just question how good of an athlete you actually are?
The worst part is, so I used to be relatively strong,
big strong boy.
I was relatively strong. The worst part is when you are like lifting pretty heavy weights, but then there's a body weight exercise that you're just like, oh my God, I can't even, this is horrifying.
Right. Yeah.
That's the worst. Like, it's like, oh, I'm just going to go out here and like squat 4 plates for reps and do my thing there. And then I get into like a body weight lunge and I'm like, ooh. So,
bunnies.
Or like, oh God, the worst one. If you don't know what a Bulgarian split squat is, I'm sure you do.
The worst, yeah.
But if you get into a Bulgarian split squat, I don't care how strong you are, you will be immediately humbled and question all of your life decisions that have led you there.
Those are also the best too, because you'll see like these itty bitty cross country people doing 45 pounds in each hand with a Bulgarian, and then you go up, like you said, doing multiple heavy squat lifts, more than what these skinny twig people look like. And then you go up there and you're like, just keep dropping weight. You just keep dropping weight. I can't put this on.
No, I don't even pretend to do weight. I just get up there body weight and I'm like, God, I hope I can stand after this. It's the worst.
I feel that way sometimes when we've all been in a scenario where you're helping like move a friend or family member or something like to a different home or whatever the case is. And you're picking up certain pieces of furniture or equipment. You're like, I'm athletic. I lift. I do these things. This shouldn't be an issue for me. Every single time I've been around my girlfriend's like parents, there's always some furniture that needs moved, and they're like, "Oh, you can come help." Whatever. Her dad just like yucks stuff around, just throwing it around the house, and then I'm, don't worry, I'll help you out when I can.
He's country strong.
He is.
She's from rural Nebraska too.
She is. Yeah.
See, country strong. You gotta watch out for that.
She's an old Freeman Falcon. One like Coach DBK.
Oh, there you go. Go Freeman.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go through one of our favorite games here on Hurrdat Sports Live.
I love it.
True or Delulu?
It's my favorite game.
I don't think you've played before.
I don't know if I have.
I don't think you have. So we're going to go through. This is a Nebraska football specific edition of True or Delulu. We're going to start off with so Nebraska announced earlier this week that their open practice is going to be August 2nd.
Yes.
Right? So you got your fan day right into Big Red Preview where you can pay to watch your practice, which I will be doing.
Nice. Box seats? Are you going to sit with the crowds?
I was thinking about going into the West.
I knew you were going to be it. It's only $30 though, right?
I know.
It's not that
I'm
bad.
like,
That'd be worth it.
It does feel like it's
Yeah.
worth it to have the chair back, you know?
Mhm.
Like that feels like a big
And because you never know weather. You could get a heat wave.
Yeah,
You could have
that's
any
true.
type of, so it might be worth it.
I think I'm probably gonna go ahead and
You didn't have to tell me. I already knew.
make that.
Already figured.
Here's my question though. I'm very excited about the open practice. I felt like I learned a lot from the open practice last year. Here's the question. Is it true or Delulu? You can actually learn something from an open practice.
I think true. Because maybe you don't learn what you think you want to go in seeing, where it's, are the quarterbacks connecting with the receivers, or are we missing all that stuff? Because there are bad practices, right?
Sure.
Like people can have, and we saw that kind of at times last year in that open practice. What I think you can learn is what is the mentality of this team and how hard and how organized is the team working. Now, most college football teams, I don't think that there's a whole lot of them that are just running around being like, okay, non-scripted plays. Like we're just going to, we're doing 15 minutes a team and then we'll see what happens the rest of the time. Maybe we'll do tug of war or something, whatever. But I think you like to see how a team, top to bottom, how they practice is usually how organized and how do I want to say this? How organized and basically how put in place is every level of the organization. And with Nebraska, we likely already know what that looks like because this is year 3 of Rhule. He's got a lot of the things in place that he wants to do, whether it's from the stretch lines to how they eat, to how they practice, to what they wear, everything, right? But all those little details, I think, mean something. So if you're watching kind of the edges of the practice and you're seeing that guys aren't on their phones if they're in sweats, right? Or if they're out in how they organize from drill to drill. How much time are they spending in between? What is the interaction of the team themselves? Are they having fun? Are they enjoying the practice? Or is it a workman's mentality? I think you can learn a little bit more about the team just in the ins and outs rather than actually what you see on the field.
I think there's a couple things you can learn. And I'm a big learning things from kind of unorthodox situations. When Summer League used to feature Nebraska and Omaha and Creighton players in basketball, I felt like I could learn a lot from Summer League. Now, it's not all directly translatable, but especially for somebody like me who has a background in basketball scouting, I felt like I knew what I could take away from a Summer League game and be like, okay, that's not going to translate, but I do kind of like this and whatever. It looks like he's added this to this game, his game, whatever, right? So
I think basketball is a little bit different.
It is
than
for
football.
sure. And Summer League games are very different than a practice, especially in the way they're structured, right? Here's a couple of things that I do think you can learn. Number one, competitiveness.
Yes.
You can see a competitive attitude throughout a practice, regardless of sport, regardless of whatever's going on. You can see how competitive guys are. You expect guys to be competitive in a game. Are they competitive in the second week of practice when they're out there and they've been conditioning all summer?
When you get to day 14 and you've been sleeping in dorms and all that stuff.
I think looking at the overall competitiveness of a team is super important.
Yeah. How many of those guys are out there because they're told it's practice, you got to be out here, and how many of those guys are excited to be out there to get better?
And how many of them want to win practice, right? We don't talk about winning practice, like winning reps, winning drills. Like that's a thing that I look for at these open practices. The other thing that I think you can tell is if you pay attention to individual drill work, I do think you can see some stuff. Because last year I was just fixated on the offensive and defensive line and their one-on-one and kind of these little mini games that they were doing one-on-one, and they were relatively full contact.
Is that where you started to love Keanu Davis?
That is exactly where I started to love Keanu Davis, 100%. And I sit there and I go, okay, that guy looks better than these guys that I know are good. So I don't know if it ever translates to the field, right? But if I know Ty Robinson's good and I know Nash is good and I think I know Cam Lenhart's good, even though he didn't have as good of a year as he probably did a freshman year, I look at these guys and go, okay, I know those guys are good. And that guy looks better than all of them, then my ears perk up, right?
Well, it's fair to say that a one-on-one isn't football, right?
Yeah.
But in the terms of it, if you don't win a one-on-one, you can't fit in the scheme.
I mean,
so there's that, right? Like if you don't get the fundamental of it correct at the beginning, you're not going to fit into the entire picture.
I also think there's the competitive competitiveness comes in there, but I also think that's what else I put it in context of what I'm watching, right? If Keanu Davis is winning one-on-ones, but Ty Robinson isn't, that is notable, right? If Keanu Davis is winning one-on-ones, but Elijah Judy isn't, or Cam Lenhart isn't, or whoever, or he is winning one-on-ones, but he looks better than these other guys. When I put it in context of what I'm watching in the drill, and it's a football-y drill, it's not like just working on footwork against air or whatever. That does matter to me, and I think you can actually learn quite a bit there. as well. So we're both on true on you can learn from open practice.
Yep.
All right. Number 2, true or Delulu? Mike Eckler is the most important assistant coach on staff this season.
True, 100% and 150%.
Oh.
I don't think it's even. I don't think there should be a question.
So we're just discounting Dana Holgorsen.
Yeah.
We're discounting John Butler.
Yeah.
New defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Full-time offensive coordinator.
What has been the worst part of Nebraska football over the past decade?
It's been special teams.
So what needed the most drastic improvement? The most drastic improvement.
Special teams.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question, though. If I tell you Dylan Raiola in Dana Holgorsen's offense is great, how do you feel about Nebraska's football season?
If Nebraska's special teams is horrible, how do you feel about Nebraska's football season?
I feel like they still have a shot. It's not now.
They
Listen,
still have a shot, but they would be missing the gaps in between, right? Because the special teams is what we always got excited about, the new shiny toy with football and the offense and the defense and all this coach, and he's so smart and everything's going to work out great. But every single year, the special teams was always overlooked. We always assumed the bright, shiny new toy of a punter or this kicker or the long snapper was going to fix all the issues, and it never did. But now they finally have a coach that's in there, that's trusted, that is reliable, and has a proven track record, which has been a theme of this show so far. So why don't we just stick with what needs the most improvement? If you got brand new tires on your car, but it was never aligned and you're shaking down the interstate every time, wouldn't you get the tires realigned? Wouldn't you have them rotated once in a while?
I don't know. I'm not a big car guy.
I understand.
No, I have sat here at the restaurant and said, at minimum, if the special teams was just not disastrous, Nebraska has 2 more wins last year. Just not disastrous. So I understand the argument for Mike Eckler. I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, and you're really making me mad.
I saw that. You got all fired up there. I think people are going to look at Dana Holgorsen and be like, okay, that matters a lot. The relationship specifically between Holgorsen and Raiola is going to matter a lot.
This might make people upset, but if people were like, you can either have Mike Eckler as special teams coordinator and you keep Marcus Satterfield as offensive coordinator, or you don't have Mike Eckler and you keep
Dana Holgorsen?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. So you can either keep Mike Eckler at special teams, but Marcus Satterfield stays as offensive coordinator, or you do not have Mike Eckler and you have Dana Holgorsen. I'd rather have Mike Eckler and Marcus Satterfield.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know that I go that far.
I would.
I don't know. Yeah, it is interesting because
that's how bad it was.
It has been that bad. You're right. No, I mean that's why this is a difficult argument, because it has been that bad. It's been every bit as bad as you're saying. I also still really don't want to give up Dana Holgorsen.
I know, and I listen. I completely agree with you. I'm glad that we have the situation that both are there, because that's what's needed.
If I could tell you that Dana and Dylan will have the exact same year as, let's say, Sarkisian and Arch. Or
so 90 pass attempts?
No, whatever everybody's projecting this year to be for Arch or you get the exact, I think it was like a top 30 average at Tennessee for Mike Eckler as a special teams coach. Which one are you taking?
I take special teams.
So if you're top 30 special teams, how many wins does that give Nebraska?
If I'm top 30 special teams,
let's say everything else is either an unknown or equal to last year.
This year?
Yeah.
You're 8-4.
Okay. Is that enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
I woke up yesterday morning and I was like, I know what I'm going 8-4 is my prediction. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going 8-4.
Wow, what a hater.
Sorry. How many wins did we have last year?
Nick, 7.
Yeah. Wow. An improvement.
Negative Nancy over here. Coming up next, we're going to talk to...
I'm not going to be allowed back. I'm not going to be allowed in Lincoln by this rate.
We're going to talk to our guy, Mike Sautter, Hurrdat Sports and NEBPreps here on Hurrdat Sports Live.
At Centris Federal Credit Union, we understand that the journey of building your own business typically starts with modest beginnings. With a little help from our team of experts and small business loan offerings, you can take your vision and transform it into a more concrete reality. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Johnson went back, comes in, she makes the catch, and it's a chance for a game-winning double play. That's how it ends. The Arkansas Razorbacks are headed back to Super Regionals.
What kind of goes through your mind as you're preparing to give that final speech?
It's the worst speech of all time because you don't want to rehearse it because then it sounds like you knew it was coming.
It was 12-0. Like we were kind of anticipating, okay, like this is gonna end tonight. Like nobody wants it to, but it's going to.
10, 20 years down the road, the wins and losses, you don't remember them.
All the success is great and it is very memorable, and those are part of the good memories, but I think the time we have together on the bus, in the locker room, at practice, on the field are what lasts a lifetime.
You just go out there and you look those kids in their eyes and try to articulate to them how much they mean to you and this program. And then when you finish and you stand there and watch everybody, and it's hard. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Mike Sautter.
Yeah.
Mike Sautter.
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot.
Mike Sautter.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's awesome. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports headquarters.
Nice.
And we're brought to you by our friends over at Dingman's Collision Center, locally and family owned and operated. Their roots run deep in Omaha. They live here, raise their families here, and take pride in serving the same community that we're all a part of every day. Dingman's has been a trusted name in collision repair in Omaha for almost 30 years, and they've been voted first place in Best of Omaha for auto body repair 20 straight years. Get over to dingmans.com to check out what they've got to offer, make an appointment, find out all the information you need to know, and check out their 4 convenient locations across the Omaha Metro at dingmans.com. Joining us now is our friend on Friday. Well, he's our friend every day and our colleague every day, Mike Sautter, Hurrdat Sports and NEBPreps. What's up, Mike?
Oh, man. Not much. I haven't seen you guys in person in a long time.
I know, we've missed you so much.
It's been you've been.
That's a fucking lie, Austin.
That's not even true. I even thought to myself that sounded satirical, and I didn't even mean it to be. Mike, we have missed you so much. Come on, Mike. I did miss you at our diving competition. You were noticeably absent.
Let me tell you, my thumb actually still hurts.
Does it? That's
yeah.
Good,
it got injured like on Wednesday afternoon, Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon.
Were you wrestling again or what?
No. So it's the same one you hurt before you. It's re-injured?
It got bumped pretty hard. Well, not on purpose. I mean, it was not. This is what happened. So Cade Ziola, Mr. Gorilla Hands.
Okay.
Because his hands are huge. Like gigantic hands.
Mm-hmm.
When I say they're huge, he shook my hand and his fingers were like on my forearm. And I looked down and like, good God. So he was getting ready to warm up for a match. He was like, getting in this mental headspace, warming up for a match. And he like did one of the like swipe down, high five things because my hand was down. And he just hit it like right on the spot, like just hard. And I was like, oh. And that's one of those where you're like,
you're like, don't make a face. Don't make a face.
That's
don't
the worst
make a
part
face.
is you're surrounded by the toughest dudes in America in Fargo, North Dakota, so you can't really show any type of pain.
You can't be like, oh, that high five.
Yeah. With Travell Delagnev standing right there too. And I was like, yeah.
Former Loper.
He is a former Loper. He is a tough MFer. Like, buddy. I mess with that guy. I'm glad he's an acquaintance.
Not an enemy.
On the good side.
I hate to have that.
On the good side of the ledger there.
Yeah. I wouldn't call it, we're not friends, but he's definitely an acquaintance.
So before we get too deep into Fargo here, so before that, you'd been on a little vacation. Were you Okoboji? Is that where you were in?
Yeah, it was like an extended. It was like a working vacation first because we went to Florida for Disney Duels or AAU Wrestling Nationals. So, and then came back, was home for a day, and then did my 4th of July trip to Okoboji that I do every year. And it's fun. Yep.
I gotta be honest, there was a certain level of concern on my part, just you just drinking in a kayak by yourself. It seemed a little dangerous. And I thought maybe you look better than I thought. You might be more sunburned than this.
No, for some reason I have not gotten a sunburn yet this year on my bald head or nothing at all. And I've been outside a lot. As a big yard guy, I like to be outside. So yeah.
You'd be proud of me. I mowed yesterday.
Wow. So did I, actually.
Nice.
So I'm gonna have to mow again probably Saturday too.
I'm not going to mow again for a week. I don't care what happens. I'm mowing once a week.
I'm going out. We're taking a family vacation Sunday through Thursday. So
so you got to get ahead of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
You got to get okay. That makes sense. That's fair.
Plan ahead.
No, that's fair. You don't want it to come back and be all crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mow every other day. That's insane.
That felt aggressive. I was.
Yeah. No. Gets Rhule out. He's measuring the grass, clipping it, just single shear, doing his thing.
Hey, Austin, there is once upon a time a video of me using scissors to cut my grass in spots.
Whatever it takes. Are you wrestled out yet with all the travel you've done? Or how fun was that with Raiola though? I know that that's your guy too, and his story, and you guys know each other so well. But that had to be. You were telling me about his experience last year to how he finished this year. I mean, just what a run for him.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I am extremely happy for him. Just knowing kind of the work he's put in and the time he's put in to do it and to be good, and not just good, to be great. It's pretty good. Now, if anyone saw if you've seen the video of, after he won, we posted video of kind of the not whole tournament for him, but there's chunks of, different matches, and I've mic'd up coaches in the corner, one of which was his dad, and Travell Delagnev was the other coach. Some of that stuff is really cool. And there's at first I had 38 clips, which was 6.7 gigabytes. And then I added about 26 more. So to break that down into a minute and 20 or whatever was a lot. But at the end of that video, his dad gets their whole team together, right? Like it's Travell, it's Brian Snyder from Nebraska, it's his club coaches, it's Chaz DeVetter, his high school coach, and basically has something really nice to say and really kind of powerful, I think, about how it takes a team of people to facilitate that greatness, if you will. And so it was really, really cool to watch him get it done, because last year I stayed an extra, 3 hours plus, and he lost really quick and frankly got beat bad. Tech falled in a minute and 22. And for him to come back this year, not against the same guy, but for him to come back this year and to win it, I mean, he got beat in the finals last year. So he's a runner-up, and now he's a champion at the toughest high school wrestling tournament in the country. So it's pretty neat. It's pretty cool to see.
So, Mike, as you you talk about Cade, and we can move on to some other wrestlers here specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he's going to Nebraska
Right.
here in just, I guess, like a month, basically.
He's already there. But, yeah.
Oh, so, okay, he's already moved in and everything. So, yeah, I didn't know when wrestlers reported.
Yeah,
but so as you look towards his time at Nebraska, like how ready do you think he is to be competitive right away as a freshman at Nebraska? I know that's already a pretty loaded team with Nebraska, and obviously with some of the guys they've brought in. Like, how do you see that moving forward at his time at Nebraska?
Yeah, we've got a little official clarity on that. We did a Mike Chuck podcast, or about an 8-minute interview with Travell Delagnev, the assistant at Nebraska, and obviously he's Cade's basically personal coach, and has been for a few years. And Travell did mention that he's going to redshirt. They know he's not ready for the weight yet to be heavyweight, and they got AJ Ferrari, so he's pretty good too. So
what's Cade's excitement level to work with AJ?
I think pretty good. I think those guys are all like each other. I think the team's pretty. I think everyone really likes everyone on that team. I can't imagine. It doesn't feel like there's any hostility or animosity or whatever. I think the culture's probably really, really good right now at Nebraska in that room. So, I would say he's excited. AJ's a lot bigger than Cade right now. So Cade's got to put on weight to be a heavyweight. But I tell you what, I'm going to just guess 230, probably 230-ish, 235 is where he'll be. Because you don't want to lose that quickness and speed and stuff like that he has. You don't want to lose that. So you don't want to put too much on him. But he's got, a year or so, maybe 2, to crack the lineup. And he's going to redshirt and just work on his body and stuff. And then he'll come back and be pretty good. I have all the faith in the world that if he is healthy and remains healthy, he'll be a pretty damn good heavyweight at some point in his life in college. So I feel really good about that.
Mike, as you kind of reflect on Florida and then Fargo, very different places, by the way. So that must have been a little bit of a whiplash for you.
Let me tell you, though. I'm going to cut you off. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
July in Fargo is
it's beautiful, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Like Wednesday, it was like 75, 72, partly cloudy, light breeze. It was no humidity, right? Like
Perfect.
No humidity.
Yeah.
So now I like pools and beaches and being outside and stuff like that. So I will take Florida. I mean, for sure. But weather-wise, Fargo's beautiful in July. Only
just don't want to get caught there in January.
Nope.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. Between Florida and Fargo, who are some of the other standouts that just really caught your eye, whether locally, on a national scale, just people that you've seen over the last couple of weeks that you just need to tell us about?
Well, yeah, wrestling wise, I mean, Bo Bassett he's a stud. Like, he's so good. Saw him in Fargo a couple times. There's a lot of talk about him maybe committing to Nebraska. He's a very big name nationally in the wrestling world. So,
was committed to Iowa, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. He's how about this? He tech-falled in the finals. He tech-falled his guy in 23 seconds.
Oh, God.
Not pinned him, tech-falled him in 23 seconds. That's hard.
That's efficiency is what it is.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Bo, he was, he's from Pennsylvania, and so there's some talk about Nebraska being in on him and all that. So Tyree Thomas Callaway was a guy in Florida that was a stud. He was outstanding. He's from Omaha, Bryan. He won Metros last year. Metro tournament last year in an upset, came back to win it, actually beat Cole Kniglia from prep, I believe in the finals. And he was a guy, for me, he was probably the most impressive in Florida at the AAU Nationals. So yeah, I'm good. I'm good on wrestling for a little bit. Like I'm probably good on wrestling for a little bit. We're
Okay,
good on
I want to ask you one more because listening back to Mike Chuck on the girls wrestling side, Jayashri Bray from Omaha North, I thought hers was fantastic. Her interview with you just talking about all the great stuff that Omaha North and Northo is doing just in the wrestling scene, and she seems ultra motivated to kind of be that guiding light to bring up more athletes and more girls wrestlers from the area.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I should have mentioned the girls' side too. Jay Shreve was in the finals in Fargo, lost. She got second, runner-up again, toughest tournament in the country. And her interview after was fantastic.
Mhm.
Like, just talked about how North Omaha is important and how developing girls wrestling and just wrestling in Omaha and particularly North Omaha. Didn't even say Omaha North. She said North Omaha was important. And she also brought up, the fact that Omaha North is like turning back into a little bit of a wrestling kind of school a little bit, back when they were Curly Alexander years and that. I loved her personality. She's great. And the mentorship part of like young girls, young kids looking up to her now and all that. And she sounded like she's ready to take on that challenge. So it was pretty cool. She also did say that it would take Tyson Terry a minute to take her down. And I was like,
Is this knee tear Tyson Terry? Did she specify, or was this full health Tyson?
She's great and all, but I think that one would be over pretty quick.
Mike, obviously you talked to a lot of really great high school athletes. How, I guess, unusual is it for them to be so eager to take on kind of a mentorship role in their communities? Obviously, it's a very specific situation in an up-and-coming sport and in kind of a part of town and a part of Omaha that has a wrestling history that maybe's faded back a little bit. So I know that's kind of unique there in her circumstances, but how often do you see athletes at this age that are so eager to take on more than just their sport and kind of want to be seen as a leader as well?
I think it's like a wrestling thing, to be honest, because I like Cade Ziola's in that vein. Joel Adams, when he was living in Omaha and at Miller South, was in that vein. Like doing camps for little kids and running those and doing all that stuff, like being around and being visible and everyone talking to you. And there's like Reagan Galloway was that way out. She's from Amherst out in Hastings. Austin would know where that is. So
Ravi didn't know where Adams Central was the first time I did a show with him, so
I tried to Google it.
Wow. Well, Amherst is more, I guess, not Hastings, but she's at Hastings College right now. So, and she was up there. She was up there coaching in Fargo, and I talked to her for a little bit, and she's like, hey, "I'm coming for that national championship this year." I mean, there's a lot of people give back and pour into the sport, and a lot of kids. When I say kids, I guess like 17 to 22 are very eager to help and to want to grow the sport and make other people successful and don't mind other people's success. That's the one thing. So I think it was probably about 2:30 in the morning yesterday when I was, I think maybe to Sioux City on the way back, where I brought that up to Chuck. We were driving back, and
you just kept Chuck awake the entire time. You made him suffer with you.
I made him stay awake the whole time. So, he was fading him. He was fading once or twice, and I was like,
absolutely not.
Yeah, I said a couple things to him.
Formal greetings. I'm sure they were very nice.
Yeah. So no, but I brought that up is it's funny that wrestling is kind of like track, where That's the only thing I compare it to. Where if someone does well, breaks records, wins national championships, does really, really good at something, everyone is happy. Okay, 95% of that community is happy for them or that person or roots for them or wants them to win or wants them to or is excited that they won or broke a record or did all these things. Like 95% of that, sport community is very excited for them and congratulating them. It's not that way in football and wrestling and whatever in Nebraska anyway, in my experience.
You're talking about like across schools, across communities, across party lines, basically. Like
across party lines, across the state, everyone is happy for that person. Wrestling's different that way. So I guess it is what it is. I mean, let's go back to basketball a couple years. So like when Hunter and Saint and Chucky and all those guys were coming through, people were finding a way to just tear them down instead of celebrate them.
Like, is Hunter really a 5-star or whatever? Is he really the 8th best player in the country? Whatever he was, I think he got up to 4 at one point. Like, is he really that guy? Like, I've seen him. He's not that good.
Right. Like stuff like that versus like the other side is it's other sport that is, tough. They're celebrating it, right? It goes back to kind of what I've said about the Tamala thing. It's like, he's not good enough. Well, no, like he's actually pretty good, and we should actually be like, hey, man, that's awesome that kid's going to Alabama.
Yeah, and people still gave you grief about even saying that wasn't even credible for that.
Which is
I don't
fine.
want to get you. Yeah, I don't want to get you too far off your tangent on what you're saying, but I am curious your thoughts on Braylon Warren getting another power offer coming from Wisconsin earlier this week too, and how does his recruitment, because going into this season for Braylon, it feels this recruitment is different than what we had seen from Jets before, as Jet is going into his senior year, and what we saw from Zane Flores and maybe even Danny Kalin in there. How unique has Braylon Warren's recruitment process been comparative to other high school quarterbacks from the area in recent years?
It's gone fast. I mean, it's okay. Well, DK got his first offer when he was a freshman from Florida State. Remember that?
I'll say Kalen's probably the closest one, right?
Yeah. And then Nebraska was very reactive on that to offer him. And that was the Frost era when they offered him first. So that's the biggest comparison. But Braylon's gotten more and just keeps getting more and more. So it's gone a lot faster. It's a lot different. And it's one of those things where like Nebraska's pretty locked in on their quarterback position for the next handful of years, right? So as far as the classes are concerned. So is there a spot for Braylon Warren?
I mean, probably not, right?
Probably not. Yeah. Like it's probably not.
In 27, like it's probably just not in the cards.
But even that's why it's so unique, because the past 2 quarterbacks, counting Jet and Braylon, we're going to see, this feels almost like an unprecedented run where Nebraska football is so set at their quarterback recruitment that it's really open field for every other power school to come into Omaha and openly recruit without having to necessarily worry about the Big Red.
Yeah, that's fair. It's very fair. I will say, as someone that is a champion for kids from Nebraska, I think it's cool.
I agree.
I think it's awesome that, like, hey, the more the merrier. Like, come in, whatever. And Husker fan can hate me for that, but I'm for kids. So, like, yeah, if Nebraska isn't going to take them, then somebody else takes them, and it's cool. And now they have to go be successful. Mm-hmm. Like, they have to go be successful so that other schools will keep coming back to the state to recruit, because if they're not, it doesn't work. It's kind of like, so it's this conversation with like, what's Nebraska doing in state recruiting and why not, and all this stuff. Well, they've struck out. Like Nebraska the last handful of years, if you look at in-state kids that they've taken, it hasn't worked. Hasn't worked out.
Yep.
Are they taking the wrong kids that don't fit their culture or things like that? Maybe. Are they taking kids that maybe turned out to not be good enough? Maybe. Is there, I do believe that there is something to be said for the in-state pressure of, like, if you're the big time guy and there's your recruit, and it doesn't work out, there's a lot more pressure and questions via social media, etc. That, like, oh man, like I thought this person was supposed to be this, and then they aren't. It's kind of, to be honest, the best example of that, or most recent example, is Thomas Fedoni.
Yeah.
Because remember in high school, like, that guy was the number 1 rated tight end ahead of Brock Bowers, and everyone thought, oh my gosh, we got hurt. Like, sometimes that happens, right? So, but people were still like, oh, he's terrible. Da, da, da. I'm like, okay, the 3 ACL surgeries. What do you want from the guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's one of those. It's that kind of local pressure piece that is a little bit harder. Now, I don't know in recruitment how you, throughout the recruiting process, how you measure that mental toughness, right? Because that's a different mental toughness than I got to fight through an injury, or I'm banged up, or I need to practice harder, or whatever. That's a different mental capability there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to weigh that, or if you just, maybe you weigh it by, like, hey, this person's not, like, on social media all the time, posting all this random stuff all the time.
Sure.
And that's maybe a red flag, right? To be honest.
Yeah.
So maybe that's how you measure that mental toughness, because if they're not on it all the time, the best example of that is Isaac Gifford. Like, that dude's not, like, ever, like, like, he's just not, like, he's just not his thing. He has it and is, but not like that. Never was, not even in high school. That just wasn't him. And that's probably one of the tougher guys that was on the team the last handful of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's we didn't really get to it during the show. We were talking about during the break a little bit, though. We were talking with Tim Verghese earlier in the show about in-state recruiting for football specifically, and how I do think there is a specific mindset that Nebraska looks for in their, not just their in-state recruits, but in all their recruits. But you brought up a really good point with, outside of the regular temperament that they're looking for their recruits and the fit culture-wise, I do think there is that little bit extra. Like, there's certain kids in the state, and this doesn't mean that they're good kids, bad kids, won't succeed, will succeed, whatever, that maybe just mentality-wise, Nebraska is like, maybe that's not the best fit for them. And we've seen a lot of really talented guys that just didn't get offers really from Nebraska, or didn't get recruited heavily after they got an offer, that go to other power programs, and you go like, okay, what happened there? I do think that in-state pressure and general mentality of that is a huge factor, and that we just haven't really talked about that much with some of these guys.
Yeah, I think there's 16 kids that are going to FBS right now in the 2026 class. I think the number 16, maybe
I think that's right,
off 1 or 2 or something. And Nebraska offered 2.
Yeah.
Right. So, like,
Darian Jones and Jace Reynolds.
Or, sorry, 3. Isaac Jensen, Darian Jones, and
Mm-hmm.
Jace Reynolds. Yeah. Sorry, 3 of that 16 is they just offered.
Yeah, even offered.
So, like, are those guys more of the fit of what they're looking for? Maybe, probably. Like, and you know what? That's okay. Doesn't have to be right for everybody. But, like, some of those guys are really talented too.
They are. Yeah, they are, for sure.
Really talented and really good. But does it have to be a fit? No. And also, like, let's maybe try and do something different and see if it works, right? Because, think of the last, Cam Jurgens is the last guy that probably was, like, a star on the team. For that as an in-state recruit, right? Am I missing anyone? Like,
I don't think so.
What's the parameter? What are we?
I mean, obviously Gifford was a multi-year starter, but was kind of maligned a little bit in terms of his play sometimes. Obviously, you
probably one of those two.
Yeah, I guess Fedoni's not technically in state, right? But
I claim that guy. Yep, we're claiming him. Yeah,
Phelan Sanford go there.
I mean, not highly recruited.
Ty Horn,
I mean, John Bullock.
John Bullock is a good one.
John Bullock,
John Bullock ended
he's a walk-on.
Yeah, very unheralded coming through. It's a very different experience with no expectations and ended up being successful than it is with the pressure from right off the bat. So,
Mike, before we let you go, did the Jets sign their building blocks this past couple of weeks? Because you got both Sauce and Garrett Wilson locked in, didn't you?
Yeah. Why not? Now, Sauce, like paying that guy that much, highest paid corner is a little scary because hopefully Aaron Glenn can teach him how to tackle in the open field.
That's not important. Not a corner. No.
Coverage-wise, that dude is amazing. So, I'm excited.
Don't let them catch it.
Exactly.
Yeah, if they can't catch you don't have to tackle them. But you do kind of have some
great argument too for having a top 5 paid receiver with a quarterback that's just as good, right? I mean, if you can get the ball to him,
right? Well, you saying Justin Fields? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, are they running the triple option with Garrett Wilson too? Like your dream Jets offense?
Hey, you see that Jets running back room, right? It's pretty good. So
couple jet sweeps with Garrett Wilson.
There you go.
There's a lot you could do with Justin Fields, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Braylon Allen, and Isaiah Davis in the backfield.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff there. You could have some fun running the ball that way.
It's a great college football roster in 2022. That was a great college football roster.
Sounds about right.
I
like Justin Fields. I
do too. And they got him for the price. I love it. Love it. Get that Enigma guy out of here to Damon's team. Good luck, bud. You're a Panthers fan, Austin. What the are you?
You want to take Bryce Young right now? You'd rather have Justin Fields?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
He wants Bryce Young.
That's an interesting question, actually.
He'd rather have Bryce Young.
Listen, we're 2 years, $30 million for Justin Fields. I'm comfortable with that. The price is right.
That's an interesting question.
That's a great question, though.
I really
guarantee this is the only show in America to pose that question. There's 0% chance that there's a Jets and Panthers fan working in the same network, let alone debating this. But I'll take
it's just the contracts if the contract years and Bryce Young's gonna have to get paid here maybe
let's say all things being equal, forget the contracts.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's actually really tough.
Yeah,
I think that's actually a really difficult question.
It's not difficult. It's Bryce Young.
Really hard. Really tough question.
He's the guy. He's no Cam Newton. He's mini me. That's who he is.
I don't know. I think I might go Justin. Justin
No,
Fields.
You're lying.
No, I really do. I like Justin Fields.
Can't believe the Jets guy loves
again. At least maybe Justin Fields will at least have a player in motion this year. Maybe the Jets offense will actually put someone in motion one time instead of just standing there and letting the quarterback be like, I'm going to throw it this way. So yeah.
Justin Fields was who I wanted the 49ers to draft in that draft. So I've always had an affinity for Justin Fields. I think he can be good.
I think he'll be just fine. I'm getting excited for Jets football. Even though there's only three, the Sunday ticket deal was like, hey, you got to re-up, pay this thing. And my wife was like, hey, that's coming due. Like, what are we doing here? And I'm like, well, let me look. Oh, yeah, the Jets are only on national TV, I think, a Thursday. They have one of those dumb Sunday morning England games or whatever.
Nice.
And
yeah.
And then there's one other, I think maybe a Monday night one. So I'm like, yep, I guess we got to buy it because I got to watch the Jets, and that's the only way. So it's
Okay,
like
Mike,
$400.
I've only seen the Panthers in non like national. Well, I guess basically any type of broadcast be a Thursday night football game. So there are worse things.
Hey, you can come over. You can come over and watch. Literally right behind this wall is my 101-inch projection screen that goes on the wall.
Flex.
And it's HD. It's great. And you can, and now they're going to let you change what games you actually want to watch in the quad box or the 8 box or whatever.
Love
and
it.
You can come over and watch the Panthers. You're just going to have to listen to the Jets if they're playing at the same time.
Yeah,
but
that's
you can
fine.
watch.
I can do that.
Yeah,
Do we
you
have
just
a
let me know.
There we go. That's our guy. That's our guy, Mike Sautter, Hurrdat Sports, NEBPreps. Mike, we appreciate the time, and we'll talk to you next week.
Hey, yeah, you guys have a fucking good day. I'll be back from Colorado for a week. So I'll be here on Friday.
We love to hear it. We'll talk to you. Enjoy your vacation.
Show up.
I will show up on vacation, let me tell you.
Be careful. Be careful drinking in those mountains, man. The altitude and the alcohol. You gotta be careful.
Is he drinking?
I assume he's on vacation.
No, he's in Colorado.
All right, Mike. Have a good vacation.
See you, Mike. Also, Panthers at Jets, October 19th.
That's
Should Mike and I live stream us watching that?
Incredible content. Yes,
fist fight could break out.
Yeah, I think
both our teams 0-4 going into that game.
Let's take a quick break here. We haven't heard from Verz, so I'm not sure if we're gonna get him or not. Let's
Maybe he wasn't motivated since he knew DB wasn't here.
It's possible
to not just annoy Damon the entire time.
It's possible. We'll see here. We'll try and figure that out. But,
maybe we'll channel our inner Verz.
Well, maybe we will. I think Mike did a couple times there. Got a couple F-bombs in there for us, so appreciate that. We'll take a quick break here. We will be right back with more Hurrdat Sports Live.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Avery Howard here with Harrison Phillips. Harrison, this is your 7th Playmakers Camp here in Omaha. As you grow in your NFL career, why has this always remained a priority for you?
You know, it's really special. I don't know what jersey I'm going to wear each season. It's not really up to me. I'm very happy that I've been a part of 2 great organizations. But something that's forever true is this is my high school, and this is where I'm starting a family. I'm building a home here with my wife, who's a Millard West grad. We just had a child who's going to grow up a Nebraskan. And, you know, this one means the most.
Standing here in the Millard West gym, what do you think the high school version of you would think, knowing you'll be doing these camps in the future and where you went to high school?
Man, the high school me was pretty cocky. I would say he'd be very proud of himself. I always spoke really big goals and set them really far off. I was kind of laughed at a little bit, being a little freshman saying I'm going to play in the NFL and get full-ride scholarships and stuff. But I worked my ass off to make that happen. So I'd be really proud, and I think the most important thing is bringing others along the way. So being able to be out here to these high school students, a thing that I wish I had. I wish I had someone that I could have asked about what it's like going to college, what's it like to get to the next level. And so when we bring these Nebraska football players out and these high school kids, I want to be a resource to them as well as use my platform for these pups.
At Centrist Federal Credit Union, we have the tools and resources to help our members fulfill their financial goals. With a focus on building a stronger community for the next generation of leaders. Centrist Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
What makes Banana Ball work so well in terms of the fans, the support, and everything that's gone with it?
I think it's just breaking down the barrier between fan and player. When you go to a Major League Baseball game, even though there might not be a barrier, it might just be a net, there's a distinct barrier where like players and fans don't really interact during the game. And we're bringing fans onto the field, into our game. Like every fan that comes to our game is going to be involved somehow. Every single one of them. They're all going to be involved if they want to be. So I guess that's my advice too. When you come to a Bananas game, be open to doing anything. Don't say no to an opportunity. My niece actually, we do a fan warm up before every game. We have a little girl come on the field and dance, and the whole stadium follows the dance moves. My niece said no because she was nervous. And to this day, every single day I see her, she's like, I want to do the fan warm up. I want to do the fan warm up. So like when you come to a game, just be open to doing whatever.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centrist Federal Credit Union. That's Austin. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat headquarters, not Sports Bar and Grill. We're not there today. We're at Hurrdat headquarters. But you know where you're going to need to be in a couple of weeks? That's the Pinnacle Bank Championship presented by Woodhouse. It is back, and you won't want to miss a second, whether you're in it for the Corn Ferry Tour golf, the concessions, the concerts, the good cause, or all the action in between. I'm an all the action in between guy myself. A good time is always par for the course. Get your tickets today at thepinnaclebankchampionship.com to experience it for yourself.
Par for the course. That's a classic golf pun.
It is a classic golf pun.
Great work there, team.
Very punny sometimes. See what
Very
I did
good.
there?
Yeah, I did like that.
Sometimes I'm punny. Sometimes I'm an a-hole, and I have a question. I have several questions, actually.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the Reddit phenomenon, Am I the A-hole?
Yes, I've seen a few of these.
Okay, because there's this whole culture on Reddit, and then it's made its way into podcasts and videos where people just read these off. And I thought we should do a sports edition.
Should we call it I Am the Vrzal? Am I a Vrzal?
I would never call Verz that. I think I love.
I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying like I think Verz would be very opinionated on these themselves.
He might have a lot of opinions on these. I'm sure he would.
I don't need Verz to be upset with me.
Yeah, I think Verz. I love Verz. Verz is great.
Verz is the nicest human being I've ever met.
He actually is always very nice to me. Like I don't whatever other people experience, I can't really speak for. I have some scenarios. Some of them, as I mentioned earlier, ripped from the headlines.
Okay.
Others are maybe hypotheticals that I made up. Some might be somewhat personal experiences.
Oh, okay.
Or personal experiences adjacent, maybe something I've witnessed at a game before. I want to start with baseball, though. We had home run derby, we had all-star game recently. Let's say I'm at a baseball game. My favorite player hits a home run ball directly to me, and I catch it, right? Just right at me. Boom. There's a child near me. I don't steal the ball from the child. Right at me. The kid looks at me like they want me to give him the ball. I decline. Am I the a-hole?
Are you on television, I assume?
Yes, it's on television.
Cameras are on you?
Cameras are on. Pressure's on.
Listen, society's going to paint you one way, but you're not. It's your favorite player, right?
Favorite player.
And you paid for those tickets?
I didn't steal the ball.
It just appeared to you. You caught it?
Yeah.
The right thing to do that society would tell you is to hand that ball off and give it to a kid for their experience. But you were a kid once too, weren't you?
Is it the right thing to do? Or are we just fostering entitlement?
Okay, you're not allowed to answer this. You're anti-child, so we can't have that. We can't do that.
By the way, we have Vrzal in.
Oh,
terrific.
Look at this.
We've got our guy, Matt Vrzal, former Husker, owner of Piezons. Verz, how are you this morning?
Good, boys. How you doing?
Oh, we didn't get the usual.
Is that
well? The fucker ain't here, and I don't know you. So
I'm glad to see we have a blank slate to start the show in terms of nobody's been mean to you so far. I appreciate that.
That is good.
yeah, you guys fresh off your full week of nothing. I mean, you got to recharge.
Verz,
In the real world.
Verz, I'll have you know, being the producer of the show, usually I got to put together an ultimate Vrzal episode, and we just used all of your best content. It was incredible. It got great views. You're a content machine.
I agree. And I had an interview a long time ago with the owner of the outfit, and he didn't want to hire me. So I guess it is what it is. What's up, fuckers? Thanks, Shaner.
So, Verz, what did
Where's
you?
the prima donna at? What's his excuse today? The week wasn't long enough.
No, he's coaching. He's got Westside at team camp. this week.
IMG North, they have camp. You should have seen the location he was streaming in from when he was talking to us.
Probably had a great backdrop. Probably had some couches.
I believe he was
Sponsored by
in
Red Bull or somebody. Monster.
I believe it was in some sort of a library, some sort of learning center. You know.
Yeah, sure. That's the goal.
Listen, I mean, I can't speak for it. It looked like a library to me. Maybe
is
it was.
fair.
Maybe it was one of those AI backdrops. I don't know.
Oh, you patched him in already today?
No, that the past 2 days.
Couple days ago, yeah.
David needed to be a
got it.
guest on his show, so you get it.
It's very important.
Hey, Verz, earlier today, Ravi was asking me if we can learn anything from an open practice for Nebraska. Now, you've been to the close practices, but when it comes to those open availabilities where the crowds can all come in and watch and pay to see the Huskers in their uniforms and such, is there anything you can actually gather from those, or is it behind the closed doors that you can actually tell what's going on with the team?
Oof, I would have to go to one of the open ones. You can tell when like a practice or an event is like real lively and it's up tempo and it's up paced, and Nebraska fans are smart. They can watch. They know what to look for. It's just, I don't have quite a grasp yet on the staff if they're willing to put it out there like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is how it's going. Being that the only ones that I've ever been to are the kind of more like non-open to the public ones where I can see them get after it. I don't have a good basis for that. I would, if I was going to assume, I guess it's pretty vanilla. I would guess it's pretty basic, and it's just more of a, hey, fans, here's your favorite player doing some stuff. Probably a lot of go balls, probably a lot of deep routes, that kind of stuff, just to keep everybody excited and in tune with everything.
And that's a good point, though, because do you feel like the coaches coach differently when they have the fans surrounding them and anyone's iPhone or any video camera from a media member can catch them if they were to blow up the spot of someone who did something wrong that they probably would get after them in a regular practice for?
No, if you're secure in what you do, I think that staff is very matured. I think they understand what's going on and how it should happen. I don't think our guys would. I know some, if you're younger into it and you care what people think or how you act, or, you don't want people to think you're a meanie, then yeah, you're probably going to alter that. But I think where Nebraska's at, they don't. They're old, crusty veteran coaches. I don't think they give a shit.
Yeah, fair enough.
Verz, if you're going to a practice open or otherwise, like I assume your attention's going to drift towards the line play. But if you were trying to give somebody advice that maybe isn't as familiar with the structure of football practices, what advice would you give them of like, hey, here's where you're gonna get the most out of watching? Because it can be a lot. There's a lot going on at the same time. And I think if you're not familiar with how football practices are structured, it can kind of be overwhelming. You don't actually process anything because you're just kind of overwhelmed by everything that's happening.
Yeah, the main things that you want to focus on is like competition. So when you get into a drill, even if it's just your individual group drills, are they competitive? Like, do you guys want to get after it? Do they want to get better? Are they pushing each other? Then when it gets into more of a team aspect of it, is no play is ever run perfectly. Like, so when the play gets run, if it looks good, great. There's still some things you can fine tune does the coach then move in and fine tune those things if the play kind of falls apart? What's the correction look like, and how many people are correcting it? And, is the player receptive to that? Do they stop and look the coach in the face and say, yeah, I get it? Is there communication back and forth? Like, that would be the things that I would watch in that, is how lively is the situation or scenario? Because if you're just going to practice to survive practice, then you're not going to get better. If you're going to practice where it's the most competitive thing of your day, then you'll get better at it.
All things being equal, if you're seeing correction and stuff within a practice, would you rather that come from other players or from the coaches?
Depends who the other player is. I don't think Nebraska, probably the line, the O-line is probably one of the only positions where you have guys that have been there for a long time. The secondary would be another one where you have older guys. If that older guy is making the correction, yeah, that's good. But when you got so many news that are in it at other positions, it's like, hey man, I've been here as long as you've been here. Like, have you studied that much? Like, you've got this mastered and you kind of understand the dynamic of if the position group understands who runs the room. So if you have an older leader in that position group and they run the room, and then they again stop, look the older player in the face, the older player's making the correction, they're helping them out, then yeah, you can have that. But I would say right now, Nebraska coaches do a great job. The defensive line coach was really impressive the day I watched a close practice. I really, really liked how he instructed and he informed the guys, and they were really receptive to it. So that was cool to watch.
Did you have any frame of reference? Did you ever get to see Knighton coach D-line versus Braden now? What were kind of the differences that you noticed?
Knighton was a little more passive aggressive.
Okay.
which I always appreciate.
A little snarky.
Yeah. The new guy is more direct. He's like, this is how you do it. This is what we're going to work on your next rep. And this is how it goes. Knighton, though, had the advantage of having an older room. He had Nash and he had Ty. And he had a bunch of guys that had been there for 4, 5, 6 years. So they understood that they screwed it up. Probably shouldn't happen again, so he could be that way with them.
Yeah. Verz, Henry Lutovsky going to be speaking at Big Ten Media Days next week. Is he the one you would have picked to hear out of that room, or did you have a different pick?
No, I think that's an excellent choice. He's come a long way. There were some things that the general public didn't know about when he was a freshman that he had done at dear old Nebraska U that were probably not on the good side of life. Not anything illegal, just the way he was acting toward some other teammates. So to see him mature into what they obviously view as a leader, to have him be a guy that's going to go speak at the Big Ten Media, that's a huge progression for him. And I think Nebraska will go as far as his leadership will take them. That's not just the line; that's the whole team. So he's going to be a linchpin guy. He's a good player. Got his head on. He's not afraid to give correction out of guys. So that's good to see, and excited to hopefully he's practicing. Got some canned statements that you can just give, and you never want to be the lineman, get up there and don't sound eloquent. You want to make sure that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that kind of answers my next question. I was going to ask you if there was anything you wanted to hear from him, but we had talked earlier this week with DB about what Dylan Raiola will have to face against maybe that national media. If you're the offensive lineman going out there, you're Henry Lutovsky, and some national media member, someone that's not Mitch Sherman, Sam McEwen, Brian Christopherson, going to ask you a question, what do you just prepare for basically anything that can come up, or do you kind of have an expectation of what someone might ask you?
No, so you're going to kind of see what some of the inner workings of Nebraska are if you pay attention to it. So when we went through all of our camps, you had media training. And you went through, and if you look at how everybody answered questions back in those days, they were very similar answers. Now, the funny part of it was they had this is how you do it right, and this is how you do it wrong video. And so they would be like, here's the question, and it would have, whomever answer, Turner Gill. They'd have Turner Gill answering the question. And this is just, so they used all the eras. So TG would be like, well, we're really excited to play Ohio State, defending national champions. So they're a great program. We're trying to build to what they are. Like he just had every canned answer a la Bull Durham and Nuke LaLoosh. This is what you need to say. Then it would cut to a clip of Johnny Mitchell. And it said, these are the keys to our house. And nobody's coming in our house. And then it flashed the score after the game. And I was like, okay. And everybody laughed. And but it was, you don't have to say anything. People talk too much and don't back it up these days anyway now. So just keep it basic, keep it simple. You're happy to be there. You're looking forward to the opportunity to compete in the Big Ten. God willing, you do great and you make it to the championship game and then let the cards fall where they may. But the less you say, the better. And that you don't need to be a media clip guy. You just need to get your stuff out there and take a free trip to Indy.
Verz, if you're looking at the offensive line, would you have chosen Lutovsky as an X factor? I'm talking about on the field. Or is there somebody else that you're like, hey, they really need this guy to be good in order for that line to be what I want it to be?
I don't really I don't boil it down to one.
Okay.
As long as I've got a leader in there. Now I've been an Evans fan from day one. He's had the best feet on the offensive line for a long time. So his move to center is very simple. He's a smart kid. He knows what's going on. He knows all the offensive calls and what they got to get done. But it was who is going to, and he's just not a loud guy. He's not a boisterous guy. It's just not him.
Mm-hmm.
So to have Lutovsky come in there, and I think it's a huge tip of the cap to the young man that the coaches want him there, because you don't always see offensive linemen that get that opportunity. So he's proven to them, hey, I'm your guy. Hitch your wagon to me, and we'll go do this, and we'll look good.
In a general statement, when it comes to the offensive line, you'd probably want the center to kind of be the leader of that unit, or does it matter? Is it more just who everyone kind of turns to or just accepts that role? How does that usually go about? Or if you're a coach, who would you rather have take that leadership role?
Any one of the five are good. You know, position. If it's your center, it kind of just fits a narrative for media to run with.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
The guy in the middle leads it all. He's running it. No offense to you. They all run with it when the center is the loudmouth. But as long as it's one of those five, it's when none of those five qualifies. When you're like, ooh, we're in some deep shit here. Like one of these five guys, don't care who it is, has to be it. And if you've got 1 and 1A, even better. Which I think Evans, not a good cop, bad cop, but more like Batman and Robin. Where it's just like, hey, we're both doing this. We're both going to make sure that and you got 2 new guys that are going to factor in huge. So you got to kind of help them along the way. They're older, but as long as you guys are cohesive and there's one voice coming out of that room, things will be good.
That's our guy, Matt Vrzal, former Husker, owner of Piezons. Verz, we appreciate the time as always. Look how nice everybody was to everybody this week. That was great.
Yeah, he's going to get it next week.
I will be ready. I can't wait for that. It's going to be Clip City. Content machine, Matt Vrzal.
Verz, we appreciate it. Have a good weekend, bud.
All right, have a good day, fuckers.
Thanks, Verz.
That's our guy, Matt
I got called
Vrzal.
an effer by Matt Vrzal.
I know. Is that just like
I feel like that's a Boy Scout badge almost. I should get that. I want the little pin.
We should make show badges for people. Like if you experience something within the show, you get a badge.
Yeah.
We'll send them out to our listeners and for guest hosts and things like that.
That would be great. I would love that.
I think we should. We should get Hurrdat Sports Live vests and get our little pins. Get our.
We could do computer
patches.
stickers too. We can do something like that.
Oh,
too.
like helmet stickers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Now we got it.
Yeah.
I like
there
that
we go.
little helmet sticker.
Brand goods, guys. We got more stuff for you to do.
They've been busy enough, right?
Austin, appreciate you hanging in there with me this
Yeah.
week. DB will be back on Monday. That is the week on Hurrdat Sports Live. Sasha, thank you for hanging out with us as well.
Sasha, you're the best.
It's
Sorry
been
you had
fun.
to drop.
I've missed producing.
Yeah. Sorry you had to drop an F-bomb earlier this week. That was rough.
I'm just really glad you got to explain or experience the whole donut glazing and the whole just whip it.
We have shirts now.
Whip
so.
it.
Wait.
Just whipping our own cream over here. That's Sasha. That's Austin. I'm Ravi. That's Hurrdat Sports Live. We'll be back on Monday.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.